Welcome to the Nick and Matt Show, bringing the player interviews you want to hear and the hot topics you want to discuss. Recording live in studio, here's Nick and Matt.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Happy Monday night to everybody out there. We're on episode 110, presented by Cosmic Disc Golf. Matt, I'm back in Virginia. I'm not in the legitimate studio anymore. I'm back in my own makeshift studio right now.
You're in the studio, the Carl studio. Let me see here real quick. I think someone texted me. Is Nick? He said, "Chat, son. What is that? What's the chat?"
I meant to say sub only.
Oh yeah. But only
it's in sub only mode.
Mm-hmm. But that means people can subscribe tonight, and when you subscribe, wait 20 minutes. You can chat. We're trying something new here. It's an opportunity for you to chat, and maybe we'll call it out. We got a great show lined up. We've got Catrina Allen, multiple world champion. It's 2, right? Mm-hmm. And now a women's disc golf championship. I know it's sponsored by the title Throw Pink, but it's officially the women's disc golf championship. It is an A tier. Feels a lot bigger than that, Nick.
Dude, it's got to be a major next year. With how much the prestigiousness goes into it, the amount of, added cash that went into it this year. I mean, $10,000 to Catrina Allen for winning it. That's insane. That's just not your average A tier.
There's talk about it. They were kind of pushing JP, Jonathan Poole, the tournament director. Mm-hmm. They're pushing a little bit like, hey, people kind of want this. What do you think? And he's like, we would be happy to facilitate those conversations. Like, I have a feeling, just reading into things the way I do, it's going to happen. Probably not next year. Maybe next year, but right now, the way the majors are already announced, U.S. women's is like a week before Usdgc, and Throw Pink, I think, is scheduled like 2 weeks after. So I don't think it's next year, but I do think it's probably on the way. That's guess.
Kind of weird scheduling. I actually didn't even think about that, I guess.
I think that's correct. Yeah. I could be wrong. All right, let's bring in Evan real quick. Evan's typing away like Statmando does.
Yep. How's it going?
It's like the Gannon Buhr mock-up like we did if you checked out Alden Harris's vlogs. And Gannon was being Statmando. And I'm wearing the hat tonight. It's a cool hat.
Statmando hat. I actually just saw the patches over at the Discura warehouse today.
Whoa.
I was like, Statmando. Yeah, I saw some of them.
All right. Sick, a little behind the scenes.
I got to pump Evan's audio up a little more on my side.
Well, while I'm quiet, you mentioned $10,000 to Catrina Allen for winning the Throw Pink. That's the second highest standard Elite Series payout ever, or tied for the second highest. The only one that was larger was Kristen Tatar at Worlds earlier this year. And then, of course, Pro Tour Championships, which is a non-standard event, but very high payouts, of course. So whether it's a major or not, I mean, it's like, this is one of the most iconic victories, and maybe not iconic's not the right word, but most where am I going with this? Most not
undervalued, but yeah, it's like this high level of marketing and promotion to the title. And at this point, and this is the argument that always happens, and I just cut you off because you were thinking, is the argument is always like, well, where's the value in the tournament lie? And I think, and I hear this from my brother a lot over on League Night, is what goes into it for the player competing? What is the value to the player? Who cares what the title's name is? If the players all think that this title is worth the same as a major, it might not on paper, but to them it does. And like that at the end of the day is really what matters for the competition itself.
Yeah, and obviously playing on the same course as such an iconic major for the men means something to them. They're fans of disc golf just like we are. So Catrina Allen and all the other competitors playing this weekend at Throw Pink all know what it means to win this event for the men, and they're feeling the same thing.
I want to shout out real quick our own Gannon Buhr, Ben Kenny, intern producer, is not in studio tonight. So if things are a little funky, it's because I'm talking and multitasking. He's out with family. I believe that's what he's doing. I think he's hiking on a mountain. I hope he wasn't stranded on the mountain. I'm like, have a good time. He's like, no, I'm stranded.
Nice. Yeah.
So also,
we'll save him later.
Yeah. Also, Cosmic Disc Golf, everybody. This episode 110, presented by CosmicDG.com. Check them out. See what they have to offer. There's a selection of disc golf retail, as well as some other really interesting and amazing initiatives that they have going on. You can read all about it. CosmicDG.com.
Well,
In
really,
fact, I'm
really
wearing
quick.
their logo right now. There you go.
Oh, there you go. Well, really quick, while we were talking about money, Catrina Allen taking home $10,000. Evan just smacked me with this insane stat right before the show. And I had to ask him, is this going to be like the stat you gave me about Paul at Ledgestone making over $100,000 throughout this event that he's played like 4 or 5 times? He said he did check it. It makes sense. But one of the stats that we used to do on the show, kind of when we first started and Statmano came into it, was cash per throw. And Evan, what was Gannon's cash per throw this last weekend?
Well, here in $25,000 for winning, he threw 223 times. So that comes out to $112.11 per throw, which some are going to be valued more. That putt on 17, that upshot on 18, those might be worth more. But every single throw was worth $112. Not bad for a 17-year-old. Not bad for anyone.
Not bad at all.
I'm trying to do a little bit of math. What's the actual math here? We did this for Ricky once, what he was making per hour. Can we do real quick $25,000 divided by, it's like a 3-hour round, right? So 25,000.
Yeah, I'd say 4 on the side of caution.
240 minutes. Okay, divided by.
I mean, it literally takes 20 minutes to walk from 16 to 17, it feels like.
So he was making.
Yeah, so I'd say 16 hours.
What was he making per throw?
112
Okay,
per throw.
so just to throw it out there for fun, he was making about the equivalent per minute on the course.
That's filthy.
Wow.
Literally just raining Benjamin Franklins all day.
Every minute. Wee.
That's absolutely insane, actually.
We should have had a minute count, like
Yeah.
clock going on screen here, and every minute it just like sprinkles money down the screen. $100. So if you take that per minute, that's over $1. Yeah, exactly. Over $1 per second. So they're just like, yeah, raining the dollars, dude. Just every second, just throwing dollars the whole tournament to him. So
Yeah, that's absolutely insane.
so good for him. And I'm not gonna lie, that's a surprising amount. The disc golf world is starting to try to keep up with each other. We're going to talk about it later, but the Pro Tour Championship, they upped their amounts to $35,000 for first place. We can look at the whole payout structure. It's pretty interesting later. But I want to throw it over to Evan. Go ahead and give us the rundown on USDGC before throw pink as well. Before Catrina comes on here, we can see what happens. So if you want to take that away.
Yeah, Gannon Buhr takes it down, as I got into earlier. If you didn't know already, I mean, since you're watching this, I'm going to assume you do. Like we were saying, earns $25,000. It's his first major of his career, and he's the youngest player to ever win the United States Disc Golf Championship. He's just 17 years old. Schustrick did it when he was 18, and a few other, like LeCastro did it in his young 20s. Incredible things, and Gannon Buhr has been on the cusp all season. He had the heartbreak in Vegas. He did get Masters Cup along the way, being a silver event. But finally getting the major, it just felt right. But it came at a cost. Nicolas Antilla, oh my goodness, I almost did the Ben right there. The Antilla, which who knows who's right, was leading going into the final round. He was the first European to ever lead outright at USDGC, which is an accomplishment in its own right. I mean, just wearing the flag of a continent. I don't know if they do that for the whole continent, but still representing a whole continent. He was leading going all the way into, I don't know what hole it was that it switched, but he missed a couple of, I would say, makeable putts. One was for a professional disc golfer is definitely you're going to want to make on 14 or 15 when Gannon makes a huge putt and then Niklas wasn't able to answer. But I think the biggest one comes on hole 17, where Gannon was probably about 60 feet out. Niklas was just outside circle. Gannon hits a ginormous putt, which we know Gannon can make those big circle 2 putts, but a ginormous putt to put the pressure on, so much so that Paul, I believe, missed his circle 2 putt after that, and then Niklas also missed his circle 2 putt to let Buhr take a 1-stroke lead into the final hole. And they both had, solid shots on 18, but when Niklas got up there and had the most perfect upshot you could ever had, I thought that was going to be too much pressure for Gannon Buhr. I thought he was going to have, a fine upshot, but not a birdie look, not a tap in as it may have ended up being. But Gannon steps up there and throws in a phenomenal shot, 12 feet long, has a tap in for a pro uphill to win. The 7th time ever we've seen a final round comeback. and he's the 13th unique winner at the United States Disc Golf Championship. And one last stat for now.
That's it. Stat
This
man knows
was
over.
the second fewest major starts before getting their first major. The only person to do it quicker was Ricky Wysocki with 2 major starts before he won his first in 2011. Gannon Buhr has only had 4 previous major starts before he got that. That is tied with Cameron Todd, actually, a throwback name right there.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
But I mean, leave room for any reactions, but I do want to cover throw pink just as much.
Absolutely. Go ahead and do that. Yeah.
All right. Well, like we were saying earlier, Catrina Allen takes it down. She had a commanding lead through 2 rounds. Oh my goodness, I'm going to butcher this. Kristen Tatar struggled early in round 2. I think. Oh man, I didn't come prepared with numbers right here. I might have to go look it up real quick. But she was behind a sizable chunk. She worked it back. I think she gained 7 strokes in Catrina Allen in round 3. Worked her way up to lead card in the final round, and put a lot of pressure on Catrina Allen. But in the end, Catrina Allen holds on to the victory. And although this is just an XA tier, it feels like a major. And just the cash payout alone has got the cash payout and the we were talking about earlier, the Winthrop, just what it means to win there. It's got to be a huge win for Catrina. She was struggling for about a month or 2 right before this. I mean, she miscashed at GMC. She didn't really play great at MVP Open. And then she just turns around and wins one of the biggest events of the year. That's got to feel good. She won in Vegas. She won in Belton. She won in Idlewild. A little bit of a gap. You got to think it would have been maybe an underwhelming season if she went without a win for the rest of the year. But getting this one kind of gets her right back on track. She averaged 997 through 4 rounds. That's her highest event rating on the season. So quite a notable performance. Her putting was on, and that's something that she can struggle with at times. So it's great to see her take down the victory.
So when they call it the XA tier, or what, I mean, do ratings not count at XA tiers? Is that what it is?
Say that again.
Why do they call it? You remember when USDGC used to be played and they didn't count the ratings because of stroke and distance way back in the day? Is USDGC now counted towards players' ratings?
I don't believe so.
Yeah, the X also comes from like who can play the event. Like for example, European Disc Golf Championship, not the European Open, but the European Disc Golf Championship, which is only available for Europeans. Like Finnish Nationals is another one. Those ones they limit who can play. It's not a open registration, and I believe this would follow the same criteria because it's an invite process based on qualifying events.
Now, I'm just curious why ratings still don't count for USDGC, because they got rid of the whole stroke and distance, except for a few shots like 6's drop zone. If you go be off the putt, you go back to the drop zone. 17, you obviously have to rethrow X amount of times before you advance. So I'm curious, is that still why it's not counted towards ratings? Because the ratings at this event are always pretty incredible because of the amount of propagators that come into the event, mainly being the out of bounds, the amount of it, and player scores being higher than usual than other tournaments. But yeah, just curiosity, because I mean, Gannon killed it when it comes to actual ratings. I mean, 1056, 1049, 1071, 1090, 1090 final round to make a comeback victory at a major is that's what you call clutch. I mean, literally, that's what you call clutch. And I don't know. I didn't get to watch too much of the final round. I know we're going to talk about this when Gannon and Kat are on, but I didn't get to watch too much of the round. But I did see a comment someone wrote. They're like, tell Gannon to stop taking forever. So I'm curious, was he still?
He's
did
fine.
It seem like he was taking a while?
No.
I don't know.
He was fine, in my opinion.
I didn't get to watch too much of it. So.
I think the only time like I was really like, wow, this is taking a while was before his upshot in 18. And if anyone is saying he needs to rush and do that within 30 seconds, you're crazy. Like
they even called it out live. They said
that is building up the moment.
Yeah, they
like
said
that.
This is absurd.
There was like my heart was beating so fast. Like I was saying in the earlier, I wasn't sure if he could do it, and that was so exciting to just be like, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? You're on the edge of your seat, and
Yeah.
it was just like the anticipation was exciting, and it almost was better that he took a while instead of Chris Dickerson just run up and go.
Yeah.
It was just building.
I mean,
it up.
they have no idea where those upshots are landing either.
No,
I mean,
except for the huge gallery screaming that.
So the gallery just screaming at it, but there's no like jumbotron on the side of the building that's going up 18, just seeing where your shot's landing at least. So he just hears a massive roar and then walks up to it, and he's realistically got literally a tap in to win the USDGC. Pretty filthy.
My initial to answer your question, Nick, is, and I feel like I watched for this stuff. I didn't feel that like at all during the final round. Maybe it's alluding to what Evan was just saying, which is kind of like, as a fan, I might enjoy the fact that like there's a little bit more drama in it and players are taking their time. I loved seeing Gannon like fist bumping Nicholas and being like, we just matched each other on hole 13. We just go to here. Like, the whole time they knew what the scores were, and they were like, you could see the emotional reaction after a solid throw, like fist pumps, like, I know I'm keeping the pressure on. And I have access to something really cool here, thanks to Udisc for this one. I'm able to go hole by hole and see where the standings were at that specific time in the tournament based off of, I'm specifically looking at the top 10 players. And you were asking about like earlier, Evan, just because it wasn't on the top of your brain, but like how long it was until Nicholas wasn't on top. And that was, they were tied without him ever giving up the lead. He had a share of the lead, but they were tied all the way until hole 17. And when Gannon hit a massive putt on 17, Nicholas could have kept it tied, but missed his putt. So, I mean, it was to that point. And if you go to hole 13, because I'm just banging through it right now. So I'm playing all the way up through hole 13. Buhr is 3 behind at hole 13, Nick. 3 behind with 6 holes left. And he just goes crazy from there to go birdie, hole 14, birdie, hole 15, birdie, hole 16, birdie, hole 17, birdie, hole 18. Like, it's like, wow.
So
you have to mention his start as well. Like, he got 7 birdies through the first 9 holes.
Yeah.
And then in the middle section, there was back-to-back holes where there were 2-stroke swings, one in one direction, one in the other direction. It was a jam-packed round.
I mean, crap, I lost my train of thought now.
Well, that was the hot round, obviously.
Hole 17. We didn't see the major collapse on 17 this year from a player that was in contention to win it. You know, in years past, like we saw Johnny McRae's collapse. I think we've seen it potentially from Ricky. I mean, there's been players over the years who have lost USDGC on 17. Nicholas and Gannon both put it on the green. Just Gannon hit the big putt. And the pin positions this year were right up against the OB. Tucked literally right up against the hay bales, it looked like. So one bad little miss. There you go.
All right, let's talk about the USDGC course layout and just let's push it till after the interviews.
Yeah.
In fact, we have in our green room, which, by the way, I figured it out, Nick, when we had Ricky on last week, and then we had Josh from Overthrow come and peek in the background.
Crash a party. Yeah.
Super funny moment for us all, because Ricky's turning around saying, "Are you here with me?" Like, it's just hilarious. If you haven't seen it, go check that out on our social medias. But I figured it out. We do have Catrina Allen, 2-time world champion, and this weekend Throw Pink women's disc golf champion in the green room. So I think we should not make it delay any longer. I think it is time. Let me go ahead. I don't have Ben here producing for me, so I'm going to give this a go and say welcome to the show. Catrina Allen, how's it going?
Good. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can. And it is great to have you officially for the first time ever on the Nick and Matt show. We've tried a few times, but we get the tour grind is impossible sometimes. We really appreciate the fact you're taking out this time here, and congratulations on your win, Catrina.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. We have some things we'd love to know. As I just said, congrats on that win. The field of strength there. Did I say that correct?
Strength of field.
Strength of field, yeah.
Why the?
Because I did it last week.
We have an epidemic on our show, Catrina, where we say it backwards. Okay, the strength of field was high. You know that. Statmando knows that. Everybody knows that. So, what does a win like this mean to you?
You know, like I said in my interviews and posts, I'm going to mark this as a major, even though the PDGA stats won't say that. 4 rounds on a course that demands like focus on every single shot. I mean, one mistake can cost you multiple strokes, and yeah, a stacked field that you had to qualify to be here. And just like as soon as you walk on the property, it just gives you that prestigious major field. So, yeah.
Have you heard?
Now,
Have you heard any rumors or anything on the ground of it becoming a major?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I don't see why it isn't. I've played majors that, don't feel anything like that. So we'll see.
No, it's a good point. I think we were speculating earlier. We expect it at some point here. All right, Nick, where did you go?
It should be at this point. So what was it about, this weekend that just everything seemed like it was clicking? You were hitting these massive putts throughout what seemed like every single round. Drives were on point. You had a new sponsorship this year, switching over from Prodigy, which you were with for years, into DGA this year. And just kind of talk to us, what was it about this weekend that everything just seemed like it clicked?
Yeah, I mean, everything kind of did just click. We had a week off. I had, over the last few months, really been trying to figure out what was, I just wasn't feeling confident on the tee. I just felt like something was off, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. And no matter how much field work or what I did, it just wasn't getting better. And I was getting frustrated. And then Austin and I kind of had a little breakthrough last week, and I was throwing some really shots that felt great to me. And I think before the tournament, I think it's the night before, we had finished our practice round, and I was like, I thanked him. I was like, thank you so much. I finally feel confident off of the tee. And I honestly think it was just that. And I had talked about this last week. I just felt like I kind of knew what each hole was asking, if that makes sense. Like I just kind of walked up during my first practice round, and kind of like a game plan just came to me really easy. Like it just kind of like worked with the way my bag was set up and the way my game was feeling. So yeah.
And the putting stroke this year is
well, I've kind of been there all year, or like I feel like once the season kind of got going and I felt a little settled. I mean, it was definitely one of my better putting weeks for sure, but I really have felt confident and solid every week on the putting green.
Yeah, I think just the putting in general this whole year compared to, let's say, last year or even the year before that. I mean, the putts you were hitting at this tournament, I vividly remember just these kind of straddle jump putts that you do. You hit the massive putt after what seemed like a really bad spit out on hole 8. You came back, you clutched that up from what looked like maybe just inside the circle, just outside of it. Forget exactly where it was.
Yep.
But is that just something where, switching plastics, you're switching to a new putter? Did you find something that was similar to the old company you were with, or did you kind of pick on just a whole new feeling putter and you've been able to make that work throughout the year?
Yeah, I've actually only putted with 3 different putters since I started playing disc golf. JK AVR, then I putted with the Magnet, and then the PA1. And so I've always had some type of bead. And so originally, DGA sent me a steady, and I loved it. And then for some reason, Scott Kesey was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna send you a BL. Maybe you'll like to throw it or whatever. And I kind of just put it in my practice routine and was like, there's just something about these. I never thought I would putt with a beadless putter, but I was just telling Austin, I'm like, sometimes I even feel like I miss the putt and they just have that little extra glide. I don't putt with a lot of speed or spin. And so it just, really works well with the way I prefer to putt.
Nice.
So going back to what Nick was bringing up, and you mentioned it, you said thank you to Austin. There's something that clicked with you in the field. The question I'm about to ask will either, make it so that you are the most smart athlete out there and you figured it out, but I'm just interested in your perspective. What does it take to make it so that you don't have that confidence that you feel like you have regained? You'll speak about it. You'll say like, I found that confidence. So like, what does it take to like remove that confidence in your mind? What happens there? And then how did you find it?
It was just like, I don't know. I just felt like, I don't know how to explain it except for I could just see when the disc was coming out, it wasn't coming out with the right like angle or speed or height. I was just like, it just wasn't, I don't know. Like I said, I don't really know how to explain it, but it's like, I don't know. God, that's a great question. But yeah, it just didn't feel right. And that's the best way I can explain it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it would, and I'm not putting words in your mouth, but it seems like something like that happens and you're throwing what you think to be a good shot, but it leaves your hand. You're like, that's not what I wanted it to do. Is that compounding? And then that's where the lack of confidence comes from over time. You're like, I'm trying, I'm doing what I think I should be doing.
Yeah, I guess like that's how I used to feel every once in a while with putting. It's just like, yeah, we're with driving, I just used to step up to the tee and kind of know exactly what to do. As little, less thought there. And yeah.
Well, I'm the amateur on the course, and every shot I throw just about comes out how I didn't want it to. So, but the difference is I've never done it really well at any point. Here's another question. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say something else that I think is like, even sometimes good shots didn't feel great. And then now it's like, even if a shot's bad, it's going to sound really weird. It still feels better. Like I know why I missed. It was like I was getting in this space where I didn't really understand, like, why am I pulling it right? Or why is it coming out so low? Or why isn't it doing this? And I didn't know how to fix it. And so I was just really frustrated. And then of course you lose confidence. But yeah, anyways.
But you seem to have found it, and that's what you were thanking Austin for helping with. Did something just click that stood out to you about that? Like, was it just the reinforcement or something that changed?
I mean, we kind of just worked on a few basic things. We weren't trying to do too much. We're definitely over the off season going to really, really dig deeper into, how we can perfect it. But yeah.
Okay. We were slated, I thought at one point, or I was prepping for you to be on an interview, I think earlier or last year or something. Like in our mind, we're like, hey, maybe Kat will come on. And I had a question back then that I still think is relevant to this point.
Okay.
David Goggins is a book that I've definitely read, and I'm pretty sure you've talked about it. And yeah. I know through your career, maybe the last season or two, you've talked about like, quieting your mind and doing all this stuff, bringing like your body and your will under control, right?
Yeah.
You've talked about quieting your mind during like the round in the disc golf course. What does that mean to you? Like, what's going on where you're feeling like, and then what are you doing to make that happen?
I just noticed the longer I play and the more media and interviews and, everyone's opinion of your game and how you play and what's wrong with what parts of the game, or, yeah, I just think there's so much extra that can come in. I think of like when I first started playing, I was kind of fearless and just, there was no expectation. And so just a combo of like putting up too much pressure, caring too much about the opinions of people that don't matter. And, so yeah, ice baths, running, pretty much, and then just the battle of like, I can be out around and everyone's kind of whining about the way the course is set up, or the baskets, or the, tee pads, or the format, and it's really easy to get caught up in all that stuff, or the final round. It's like, okay, it's great to have a 6-stroke lead, but it's also terrifying because if you lose that, it's embarrassing, right? So just, battling all that. And I think one thing David Goggins said that really has always stayed with me is like, why do you care so much about people who, like, you're probably failing or you're not being your authentic self because you care too much about what other people think,
Man.
Yeah. And I've
That's
definitely,
so good.
it's yeah. And it's so much harder now, I think, than ever. But he talked about like, if I was around people who liked football, I loved football, or if somebody was like, oh yeah, I love whatever pizza, I'd be like, yeah, me too. And like always wanting to fit in and it finally clicked to me. Like I would attribute some of that to like putting,
Mhm.
it's like, gosh, I would even win a tournament by like 5 strokes and people were still just about my putting. And I was like, like, okay. So
We
yeah.
we do claim media status, but we try to be nice.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's just a part of
Yeah.
our world now. I mean, it's not even just sports. It just is a part of life now.
Yeah.
Um, and I just, try my best to stay genuine. And I know that the people closest to me who care about me will love me if I get first or last. And those are the only people who care or who matter,
Yeah,
So,
that's right. They say, I'm trying to
yeah.
remember the saying now. I'm going to probably get it wrong, but like those who matter don't mind, and those who mind don't matter.
Yeah, I
like
think that's,
something like that.
no, I think that's right. Yeah, um, I think that's exactly what it is. But it's so true. Yeah.
Wow.
So,
I feel like
yeah.
if we were just doing specifically like unpacking like what you just talked about in that answer, we could probably do an hour. I'm
Yeah, I
like,
can talk
Yeah.
about that stuff for all. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, I want more. So that was
Yes.
really, really good. I think as a fan and someone who talks about disc golf, that side of the sport intrigues me a lot. And like I've heard, Brian Earhart, I've heard you talk about it here. And I think those people who are focusing in on that just really inspire me to find that side of the game myself. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, of course.
Well, we were talking about quieting your mind, especially during the final round. I mean, you had the commanding lead going into kind of after day 2, going into 3. Kristen has a great round 3. Now Kristen's kind of, slowly trying to creep up that final round, but you kept your composure, kept everything cool. Is that just from, confidence of how your practice went that week, quieting your mind throughout the course? I mean, what is it kind of like? You were saying this, if you lose a 6-stroke lead at the end of the round, it's kind of embarrassing, but just to hold on to that and to keep pushing through, kind of just talk to us about the mentality. And then what does that feel like on the course during the round? Like, what are your emotions during the round as this is happening?
I mean, I just had a little mantra to keep myself in the moment, and it was definitely just play to win. Like, don't be too aggressive, and don't be like in that mindset of like, where you're playing not to lose. I always go back to volleyball because that was like one of the first place I heard it. A coach we'd get a big lead and then we'd be tipping and, or just free balling over
Mhm.
and our coaches would, call a timeout and be like, hit the ball, like be aggressive, and so kind of go out swinging. And so I was just, reminding myself to stick to my game plan and kind of obviously had to be aware of what Kristen was doing, but at the same time, I had played so well all week. Why not just focus on my own game and how I was attacking the course? And I felt like that was enough. And I mean, there was definitely, like the tee shot on 15 through the triple Mando. That was a moment where I was like, okay, that's a huge moment. And then for some reason, even when I missed the island on uh, 17, I don't know. That was one of the moments where I should have been my most nervous, but I had a sense of like peace or calmness where it was just like get on and you have a putt, try to make it, and if not, I had a really good game plan on 18.
Mhm.
So
You had a lot of cookies in the cookie jar, Catrina.
yeah, and that was also helpful.
Yeah.
The strokes that I did there.
Oh, that's funny. So, yeah. So if you haven't read the book, everyone, I mean, David Goggins is an interesting human being to say the least. And his book can inspire you and you might think he's crazy, but it's helping Catrina at some level. And I'm sure you attribute it to other things that you've been working on, and other books and other things that you read, all the time. I'm going to go back to something you said in that last comment. You elaborated on a fair amount, but you talked about the outside perspective of what's going on and then your perspective of what's going on, and maybe even
Yeah.
those around you who care. So from the media perspective, from our perspective, when we're analyzing the sport, and I don't know how you feel about it specifically, but the recent stretch of events leading up to here, probably weren't up to what you were hopeful of. But again, your mental game could be something different. Maybe that's what I want to know. How would you describe the recent stretch of events prior to this event? Because again, you might have been seeing little successes that you were happy with, but on the outside, we see a finish and a placement. So like, how would you describe the recent stretch of events leading up to this?
Yeah, I mean, for some reason, the last few years, I just haven't, I don't know what it is about Green Mountain, but I just haven't played well up there. I think a little bit of me is that used to be my two favorite courses, and they made a lot of significant changes, and so maybe I'm a little heartbroken about that. No, I don't know.
A little bitter.
So I have no idea, or just like, anyways, yeah, first time missing cash, I think since 2013 or something like that.
Yeah.
And so that was heartbreaking. And then, so what I did was, I just decided that I was going to, instead of work out after my rounds, I was going to get up at 5 and not work out like lift weights like I normally would, but just get a nice run in and do some yoga and just get moving in the morning. I just felt like I was kind of going out on the course a little irritated or like impatient, and just like didn't really feel myself. And so, running is something that has always helped me, calms the mind, I think, for me, because I absolutely hate it. So doing something I hate normally shuts that mind up. And then yeah, just trying to focus on the little changes I was making in my throw at that time, and trying to be more patient, try to let things go that happen on the course, a bad kick or, whatever was bothering me. And just knowing that, if I did that for the last few weeks, that maybe I would see some changes. And honestly, something I always think about is when I make any kind of change, I tell myself that you probably won't see the benefits of that change until a year down the road. That you do things now to see the results a year. And I don't know what happened, because I guess it only took 3 weeks, but
That's
kind of
good.
like the saying, kind of taking one step backwards for 2 steps forward. You fix something, and then eventually it does pay off. It pays dividends, and it helps you out for future tournaments, future practice sessions, and everything like that. So having that mentality, especially being able to do it mid-season, is something that's very impressive to a lot of pros. And we see a lot of players kind of switch up their form throughout the year, switch up what kind of discs they're throwing on certain shots. And it's such an impressive thing, because week in and week out, you guys are usually traveling right after the tournament on Sunday, getting to a course Monday or Tuesday, practicing all week, and then you got another tournament. It's just crazy how long the season feels now. It's hard to remember, we were talking earlier, Gannon lost at Vegas, but won Masters Cup. And I'm like, holy crap, I totally forgot that was even a thing this year. It's just for how long it is. But kind of switching into New Year's, and you've been playing the game for a while, multiple time world champion. What is your goals, or excuse me, what are your goals kind of going into each and every new year? Obviously they change a little bit, but for the most part, what were kind of your goals for the 2022 season?
I mean, I think it was obviously putting, which that was something I did this off season. I would get up and I would make sure I was done working out as the sun was coming up, so I could go and putt for an hour in the morning to start off my day. I would definitely putt more times throughout the day, but and it was also just that mindset of like, kind of like Nick was just saying, like looking for those little victories. Maybe I didn't make all the putts I wanted, but I noticed I was focusing more on like, okay, more putts are dropping. And yeah, just staying consistent with the workout routine and preparation for tournaments. And yeah. So I always focus more on what I can do. For instance, like instead of being like, oh, I want to be 980 rated, it's like, okay, well then I need to stay in the gym. I need to stick to my diet. I need to, like I pride myself in never drinking the night before a tournament. So like things like that, little goals, little discipline here and there that helps me reach those bigger goals. Yeah.
And bringing up the diet, you have more of a, I don't want to say unconventional, but definitely a diet that most people aren't.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people have probably heard about it, but not a lot of people, I think, follow it as well and as trying to think of the word, not determined. I can't think of the word right now, but as structured.
Right. Yeah, I eat an animal-based or carnivore diet, or the more research I've done, it's like how we ate when we didn't have fast food restaurants, grocery stores. You know, you had to hunt and gather. And actually January will be 2 years of that.
Wow. So
All right.
I
did catch that. I know I froze. Sorry.
That's okay. I heard her answer. It was great.
I did catch the end of it.
So I like to smoke meat a lot, and I've been trying every meat under the sun, and it's just fantastic and it's fun. And anyways, so we can talk about that too. David Goggins, we can talk about the brain and the mindset, and we can talk about meat.
Yes.
Wonderful.
I can do that.
So how's the sponsorship with DGA working out for you? I tried to do a little research today. There weren't really any details announced originally for like length and timeline. You seem to be throwing it well. They're supporting you what seems to be well. Your social media comes off as a good sponsored player would, happy. But what do you think?
Well, I don't know if you guys know, but I was sponsored by the DGA was my first ever sponsor.
Mm-hmm.
And me and Scott Kesey have just stayed friends ever since. Obviously, yeah, no, it's been amazing, and I talk to him like every little detail. He calls me. You know, we're in communication about everything, and not just about dis and things like that. You know, he called me today to talk about. I don't know if I'm supposed to say this or not. I may be having something exciting coming up in a month, and
Nice.
so look up for that. But
We've got the exclusive audio lined up. Ben's not here to play it.
So anyways, you know, called to ask about some of that stuff, but we talked for 30 minutes before just about the weekend and the tour and the grind and just, you know, life and things. And so yeah, I mean it's awesome. Or, you know, like one of my good friends works at the factory, you know, where the DGA discs are made, and he'll send me snaps of like, oh, running your vortexes today, and it's like it's just pretty awesome.
That's great. I mean, I would say this, but it'd be putting words in your mouth. You've heard it here. Katrina stays with DGA for 2023, but is that far off?
No, I actually signed a 4-year contract, so
There it is.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Nice.
Awesome. That's great to hear. We're happy for your success there. So I don't have any more questions. I mean, we could talk all night about the topics like we've been doing, Katrina, but I don't have anything specific. We do have a game. If you've never watched the show before, it's called Stat or Fiction. And what this game is presented by Stat Mando. And what they do is they bring a stat and then they say, is that a real stat or a fake stat? And I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful tonight. Let me see. Let me pull the 4 up here. Evan, do you have any Katrina stats tonight?
Oh god.
I got one of them is, but I was going to prelude with a fun Katrina stat. That's not part of the game.
All right.
Okay.
Are you ready to go into this game, Kat? It's really fun.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go.
Sweet.
Stat or Fiction, presented by Stat Mando.
All right. This is as simple as it gets. We say if it's true or false. And the way this started, Kat, is he gave us a stat one day about a year ago that said Paul Macbeth made like 115 at Ledgestone, 115,000 at Ledgestone. And we all thought that's fake, and it was fake. And we said, all right, you made a mistake. We have to make a game out of it. So here he goes. Give us a stat of it.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll get your stat brains warmed up by just this fun one that I found. It's kind of hard to make a question out of. But Katrina, you earned 10 grand at your Throw Pink Disc Golf Championship win. Prior to 2021 Worlds, your 6 previous majors, your total payout was 10,976. So almost the same as this not a major, I'll put that in quotes, win was. But
so that's a stat. That's a stat, Evan, right?
Yeah. And I already knew.
Yeah, I just laid it out. Yep.
Yeah. I remember my check for my first world championship.
And I want to do one more just on the fun train of it. But the last time that Catrina Allen missed cash at an Elite Series or Major before GMC, there's only 6 people in the field. So like just how much has FPO has grown since then. I mean, how many amazing players that we saw competing at Winthrop this past weekend. It's incredible to see, and just the game is completely different than when it was. I mean, even 5 years ago.
For sure.
But all right, let's get into the actual game though.
Okay.
And here's stat or fiction number 1. Gannon Buhr, with his victory at USDGC, is the first MPO player to win a major before winning Elite Series event since Will Schustrick in 2010.
No, I need a clarifier here, because wasn't Worlds a thing before the national tour was a thing?
This is since 2010.
Okay, sorry. Thank you. That was the clarifier. Okay.
I'm saying that Will Schustrick was the last person to do that.
Okay,
So-
Nick's going to start it off.
no.
Nick's going to start it off.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, that's
You're
okay.
good.
If you want to give us insight, Catrina, go ahead.
Yeah, don't give us
Or hold
insight.
it for yourself. Go ahead, Nick.
I'm gonna say fiction.
Yeah, and you don't want to say why, because that'll help me out.
Yeah, exactly.
Major. You said major champion? Like they won a major?
Yeah.
Okay, before
Yeah,
an elite
in
series.
MPO before winning an Elite Series.
My brain is frozen. I'm gonna have to just ride the Nick bus. Here we go. Fiction.
Yeah, I feel like I gave it away. Fiction, Ricky Wysocki, 2011.
Whoa.
So I was thinking Ricky. I didn't know what year, but I was thinking Ricky probably won an NT before he won his first major.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty sure that's right. Well, this is fiction. Yes, you guys have that. I'm pretty sure that's right, but there was
the
one
IDGC
more
major
recent.
in 2011.
There you go.
Yeah, and I got to check all my numbers here, but it is fiction for multiple reasons. I have
check my
Sexton as
numbers.
2017, but why am I? Simon was 2015 Ledgestone. So Nate Sexton ended up winning Ledgestone after his first USDGC win as well. So that was more recent. Then also, I wouldn't have used this as the only one. It depends on whether you're considering standard, elite series, all this. But Chris Dickerson had not won a standard stroke play elite series before he won 2020 USDGC. However, he did win multiple Pro Tour championships. So multiple way to cut it that was fiction.
The chat.
But how cool.
The chat just said if Kat wins this, she gets honorary title of Cat Mando.
Yes.
That's ridiculous.
I like that. But I like that stat because I wish it was true, because obviously there's the Will Schustrick Gannon Buhr connection. It would have been cool if he was the last one to do that since Will Schustrick, but it is not.
Did it have to be USDGC? It didn't have to be USDGC.
Just a
No,
major.
just
a
any
major.
Any
Yeah,
major. Yep.
In 2011, Ricky won whatever that major was at
Yep.
IDGC. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think that was the Players Championship, PDG Championship, whatever it was called back then. Yep. All right, moving into number 2. Paige Shu's ace on hole 17 at Winthrop was the first tournament ace by a world champion this season at a DGN covered tournament.
What?
That's a jam-packed one.
There's a few
started up, Matt.
clarifiers. Do they have to be on the lead card, or just you're saying add anybody that threw it? Didn't even have to be on coverage. It just had to be at a DGN event.
It was just at a DGN covered event. It was a way to throw pink into it. And I will put in one clarifier that it's from a standard stroke play event. So I know there's been like some skins on DGN. There was the Funky Farms event. So we're just going to stick to standard stroke play events.
For MPO and FPO?
MPO and FPO, and a world champion in those divisions. Paige Shu's ace on hole 17 was the only one this year by a former world champion at a DGN covered event.
This one, people complain about me taking too long on here. They call me the Gannon of Stat Mando, Stat Fiction. I'm trying to think here. I'm trying to go through all the aces real quick, and I just can't do it fast enough, and I'm not going to take all the time to do it. I feel like world champion. Cat's sitting here going, I aced Matt. No, I'm like trying to think. I'm going to say fiction. You're up, Cat.
Oh man.
You can rule yourself out if you didn't get an ace.
No, I don't ace.
Okay.
I haven't had a tournament ace since 2013, so not me.
All right.
I'm gonna also say fiction.
All right.
I can't think of. So this is pretty much any Elite Series event because they're all covered by DGN technically.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So
pretty
pretty
much
much-
just silver and up, and then I'm including throw pink.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to think of like Paul, Ricky, Cat, Paige,
James Conrad.
Paige Shu, James Conrad, Greg Barsby. I could see Barsby acing something.
I thought he did, but I went back too far, and it was last year. I don't know.
I'll say fiction as well.
We're not gonna separate here at all. All right, what's the
Yeah,
answer?
just to clarify, it was the only ace this season. So you guys are saying there was another ace this season.
Oh well, I was just saying.
Oh
yes,
no! Now I gotta
yes.
switch the stat.
Yeah,
I'm
good,
trying
Nick,
to say Pages
you're-
is the only ace, so I want to say
Oh,
stat then.
Yes.
So
So you want to say stat? You
So
want
we're all
stat
saying
too?
stat.
I want fiction. I want to say that was the only one by a world champion. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's stat. That's
so
what
that
I
would be
said.
stat.
What?
So let me rephrase the question. Paige Shu's ace on hole 17 at Winthrop was the first tournament ace by a world champion this
No.
season.
I want fiction. I'm staying with it.
You think there was another ace by a world champion?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm
Guys,
just
you
rolling
want
the
stat?
dice.
Yes, stat is perfect.
Okay. All right.
Okay. And the answer is stat.
Man.
That is the first and only ace this season by a former world champion. The last ace at a DGN covered event by a former world champion was last year at Worlds by Sarah Hokum.
Oh
Mm.
yeah, that was awesome. Okay.
Oh, that's right.
I
At
was gonna say,
Mulligan's, right?
James Conrad
Yeah.
aced
Yes.
the event that he won Worlds at.
So that's true.
Yeah, he won. He did that too. So
It was-
He did it,
Yeah.
but he technically
Yeah,
wasn't
I
a world champion yet.
yeah. I mean, that's
know.
kind of the
Not yet.
either way. It's
Not yet,
for this year.
exactly.
Yeah.
Now, I guess I just rolled the dice wrong there, but good job. You guys are leading 2-1. We have one more to go here to see if we get an outright leader. If not, we have a playoff. Here we go. Question 3.
All right. Catrina Allen has now earned $81,197 at A tiers in her career, including X A tiers. So all the kind of versions, those being the only two. That is the most of any FPO player. So Catrina Allen has earned $81,197 at A tiers, including X tiers, the most of any FPO player.
Specifically A tiers. And because it's not fair to have Katrina answer first here, we got to go back to Nick.
Oh, I was gonna go off of her answer.
course
What the
you were.
heck? Also, now I gotta think is like a Des Redding or Val Jenkins, but the money wasn't the same back then when they were playing tournaments as much.
And is this
I-
even a lot, Nick? I mean, maybe it's like the 10th most. Who knows?
Yeah. I know. No kidding. Were there more A tiers back in the day? That's the real question. Juliana Corver, could she be doing it?
There's so many. What do you think?
No, I'm gonna say stat. I'm gonna say stat.
All right. And Evan, you're saying that is the most.
That is the most of any FPO player.
My knowledge, and speaking in front of Katrina, my knowledge of Kat is she tends to play a lot of A tiers, or she has. And I'm speaking again with her here, but like my perception is she used to say, like, I go find that tournament, and I think I'm quoting you. That's my honey hole. Like, I know there's a tournament I can go play and win some money. I'm gonna say stat as well. What do you think, Kat?
Yeah, stat, and yeah, I have been quoted that. I told Nate Heinel, "Oh, thanks a lot for inviting everyone to my favorite tournament." Like, because I had played it in 2013, 14,
Yeah.
and then whatever year, 15, and then I think 2016, 15 or 16 was the first year it was a Disc Golf Pro Tour event or whatever. And I was like, okay, this was supposed to be my little tournament where
The money one too.
it feels like, better than
Yeah.
Nate here, but the money, yeah. Anyways, yeah.
So let's see. If Evan says like, nope, it was 87,000, I'll lose my
Right.
mind.
Oh, well, about that. No, it is still stat.
All right.
That is a stat. $81,197 at A tiers, including X A tiers.
Yeah, but how many A tiers did that take? That's what's crazy about where the money's changed.
Ooh.
Well, I was gonna say I jumped
Ooh.
back to you in like 2014 in the A tiers that you were winning. You were making, let's see, A tiers 550, 398, 500, 600. So this 10 grand really jumped that up.
Right. Yeah.
Oh.
And this is why when I see, people whining about things, it's like, if you only knew how good you guys have it now. And
All
those
right.
A tiers were 2 or 4 rounds in 2 days. So
Ooh.
We need
I
a
love those.
tiebreaker.
I do know. Well, I will say that is from 81 wins in that
Yeah.
tier designation. I don't have the total events handy, but for the tiebreaker, let's do this. Sarah Hokum has the second most cash earned at A tiers, including XA tiers. So Nick and Katrina, how much cash has she earned at A tiers, including XA tiers? And this is not a standard stat or fiction question. It's just going to be whoever's closest to the number.
and
And
she
it's
has how
not
many?
you have to guess that.
And
She has the second most cash
we have to
earned
guess.
at A tiers or XA
Oh
tiers.
no, I thought you told us how many she had won. Okay.
Oh, I'll tell you after.
Well, that's supposed to help me judge how
I'll
much.
make it tough on
Yeah.
you.
Okay, should I go first?
Ladies first.
Okay. Is it like just closest, or if you
Yeah,
bust?
just closest.
Just
No
close.
Price
It's
is Right
not
rules.
Price is Right rules.
Yeah, my one hint is it's less than $81,197.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm gonna go with $67,500.
I literally was going to say 67,000.
No.
I have to change. I swear to God, I was going to say 60. I started at 62, and then I was like, you know what? I think 67 is a pretty happy medium.
You know,
You can play
I
the
grew up
under.
wa- Yeah.
No,
$1.
that's such a chotch way to do it.
$1.
Yeah, exactly. 67,499.
What?
All right. Well, I'll stick with my guy. I'll go 62,000.
All right, and the answer is 50,974.
Okay, see you guys. No.
We'll still give you the
Which-
honorary
yeah.
Catman though. We'll still do it.
Yeah.
Good. You made it to the playoff.
Not a knock on Sarah, but a lead of 31 grand, or just short of 31 grand, but over 30 grand is remarkable.
Wow.
Especially since it's only 81,000 and then leading by 30,000, and that's pretty good.
Wow.
Yeah, the last weekend was helpful.
Yeah, that was
That's
huge.
true.
Holy cow.
And I mean, I hate to talk to people about their money, but I mean, is something like that, like, I'll just ask it. Do you have tournaments as like a bonus in your salary mindset? You're like, hey, that's a bonus because you can't expect to win anything. Or do you kind of like build it into a salary? Like, how do you handle these wins?
I mean, I definitely was at South Park Mall today, like, or we're going to Paris for Austin's birthday, with Mike and Melissa Wagner. And so I was like, maybe we can upgrade to first class now. Or, I definitely think that way, more like, okay, whoa, that was way above, like you said, you can't expect to make.
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like I heard at MVP when we were playing a practice round. If you guys won one of the couple tournaments coming up, you might upgrade to first class. And,
Yeah, I would love
not too
to.
shabby.
Yeah, we're flying. What is it? Direct from Detroit to Paris, and we'll land in the morning. So it would be ideal to be in those ones where you lay down and sleep, so that you're
more than ideal.
Oh man.
But anyway, yeah. So I mean, I'm very grateful between Squatch and DGA. I'll be honest, I could not cash all year, and I could sustain being on the road. That's how well they take care of me. So
Very awesome.
That's awesome.
yeah, I'm very, very lucky to have them. Yeah.
I thought the Squatch symbol, when they had made a post, I think they had the little, was it your emblem above the Squatch logo? It was really cool. I saw you post about that. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah. They made Ezra's with a, what do you call it? Ezra Alderald's, like the bicep. Have you seen his? Yep. And then they put the bow on for me, even though I think I should also.
The bow, that's what it was. Yeah. Yeah, right.
But yeah.
Awesome.
Nice.
Well, we're very grateful and privileged and honored to have you on the first time ever again, Catrina Allen, everybody. We'll have you back sometime again. I'll try to plan out something special. We can just talk about mindset and like,
yeah, I would love that.
Well, maybe we just do like, now I'm talking out loud. I do too many podcasts, but we could do a podcast, like a 10 episode season. We just talk through the mental aspect with Kat or something. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, it's you can ask anyone close to me. It's something that I love, Wim Hof or Cameron Haynes or any of those people. I just love I don't think we talk enough about how, manifesting or how,
Mm.
or how negativity works every time and how,
Let's do it.
yeah. Yeah.
Let's
So
do
yeah,
it.
I'm definitely down. And I was just thinking during the game, I always get nervous for this stuff. I don't think people realize how much I'm just not a camera or a whatever. But when we were playing the game, I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot we were doing you guys made me
Yes.
feel so comfortable that I forgot I was doing
Nice.
a podcast.
Very cool.
Thank you very much. That's
Awesome.
our goal. That's our goal. And we're happy that's the case. Yeah, we were just having a FaceTime hanging out for sure.
Yeah.
There weren't 500 other people watching live.
Right.
Exactly.
And then I was like, oh wait, there are people watching.
Yeah. Yep.
Be yourself, but don't show them too much.
That's okay.
Exactly.
We thank you very
Exactly.
much. Again,
Yeah.
we'll reach out another time and we'd love to chat again. So thank you for your time
Okay.
tonight.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, Kat.
Yeah. Have a good night. Have fun.
All right. Peace
Take it
out.
easy.
Bye.
See ya.
Okay.
I've got a humble brag.
Do it.
now that
And we've got
Catrina-
Gannon in the
so-
green room, just so you know.
All right, I'll make it nice and quick. So Kat and I both share August birthdays. And for our birthday after Ledgestone, a bunch of us with Discraft and DGA, a bunch of us went out to Dylan Cease's game that he was pitching against Verlander. And up on the Jumbotron, there was a really, really sweet thing from the Discraft and DGA family. They hooked it up with the White Sox and they said, "Happy birthday, Nick. We love celebrating you guys." Nick and Kat. And so Kat and I, we were up in the pitcher's box getting to celebrate our birthday together, which was super cool. And then a bunch of us, we went out shopping, had a bunch of food. So anyways, August birthdays are awesome. And Kat is an awesome person as well.
That's cool. And you know what she said? Most people don't know that she's nervous. And only because I've followed disc golf for a while, I know that she's had those feelings, but I didn't feel that at all during the interview. And I was going to tell her that. And she said she actually didn't feel that for a while. So she liked that. And that was cool. So very cool. All right, let's go ahead and do this.
Let's bring him in.
Let's bring him in. Let's see if my buttons worked correctly. He didn't pop up behind Kat tonight. Welcome to the show, Gannon Buhr. We're excited to have you, man. How's it going? Uh-oh. Can you hear us, Gannon? You can hear us. Can you say hi or will it not work? No, it's not coming through. Huh. You are unmuted on our side. It seems like it's possible this happened
The
last
kid
week.
wins $25,000. We should have a microphone for him and everything.
We could just send him one.
We got to just send these to our guests. Just mail them out next day shipping. Hey, you're
Gannon,
on the show. Here's your whole podcast setup.
Try it one more time where you close out, and you should still be able to hear us. Try it one more time where you close out, and when you're coming back in, just make sure it has the right microphone selected. Like, it'll give you options for camera and mic and all that, and then just give it another try. So like actually close the web browser totally, then come back in. All right, we're gonna let them do that. I don't know. This has been a pretty solid platform for us. I'm not sure. Seems like when
They've
they
been a
join
little
with their
glitchy.
phones, and then like they get a text or something going on, it seems like it's wanting to override it. But
This is where we need Ben to fix it. What the heck, Ben? You're not getting paid this month now.
yeah, I don't.
One
think
day off, no pay.
that's an issue, but this is okay.
Well, if we're still waiting on them, I'll just drop a few knowledge nuggets.
Well,
Give us some knowledge.
Unless you have something to go to, Matt.
Yeah, we do actually. I do not, and I actually really want to make sure I talk about. We do it every week, but I want to talk about DG Max Wax. DG Max Wax, right? This product, besides the fact that it smells good, that's not what the product was designed for, although it's a nice benefit. The grip enhancement that I get is just enough. I mean, during the pandemic, people are going to be grossed out either way. They're going to say, don't lick your fingers. But like sometimes you just get that little bit of moisture, rub it on your pants, get the dirt, whatever. You reach for the dirt and you're doing it, right? Eagle found glass. I mean, it's not the best thing to do.
Yeah.
You have this in your bag, whether it's the Snapstick or the Mini, and you're able to just get the right amount of grip that it's perfect. Get 10% off if you go over to dgmaxwax.com. Pick one up. Pick up two, a Mini and a Snapstick, or pick one up for your friend, or visit your local retailer and then give them a review on Google or something. But DG Max Wax, awesome product. Our fans and people in the chat always talk about how much they like it. So there we go. All right, let's try this again, and I'll feel bad if it doesn't work, because I'm not sure what to do, but let's give it a go. Can you hear us, Gannon? He can hear us, but I can't hear him. Why? Why can't I hear Gannon?
Is there any setting on his side? It says he's muted on my screen.
Does it?
There we go. He's now he's unmuted.
It's
Nope.
no.
Oh
Not yet.
no.
It's saying unmuted for you, Nick.
Well, yeah. Now I think he muted himself to see if that was it. But
But
you don't have
wasn't.
AirPods in anymore, right? Are you connected to any other Bluetooth that would be around?
No, this is funny. We're like troubleshooting it with Gannon. This is such a waste of not our time. I mean, I'm happy to do it with Gannon, but a waste of his time. I'm looking on my side. He's not muted. I can mute him, but that's not doing it.
Can we send him a different link?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's the link. It's going to be the something going on with the phone here. But yes, we could send him another link. Let's do that. Okay, so Evan, go ahead and give us what you were going to give us.
Evan, give us some
Sit
knowledge
tight,
nuggets.
Gannon. I'm going to send you another link.
All right. Well, Gannon Buhr is one of 4 players to win both an MPO major and an amateur major. He won, I don't have it in front of me, 2017 and 2019, I believe, MJ3 and MJ15. So he won both before and after they switched it to a kind of age-based numbering system. Before it was just a kind of tier-level numbering system. The other people to do that were Ricky Raisaki, Nate Sexton, and Nate Doss. We mentioned his 1090 rated final round. That's the 4th highest in USDGC history. USDGC hasn't seen an 1100 rated round yet, which is a little surprising with all the OB there and crazy scores, but it's kind of one of those things that it gets everyone, it seems. But 1090 is absolutely no slouch of a round rating, as you were mentioning earlier, Nick. Mm-hmm. He also has the second shortest gap since Ken Climo in 1990 between the last AM event that they played and then their first MPO major win. Just over 1,000 days for Gannon Buhr. The only one to do it in a fewer amount of time, is Ricky Wysocki, who we mentioned earlier. I mean, did we mention he's also 17 years old? Like, he could still be playing junior events if he wanted to.
Yeah.
Well, maybe because he accepted cash, he can't. But all things considered, his age still allows him to, which is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it's definitely wild. And it's funny because he always talks about how, growing up, he really loved watching Will Schustrick. That's kind of a player that he emulates, in a sense, his form, love the style that he used to play. And then to go out and win the USDGC as your first major, it's just such like following in Will's footsteps, in a sense. It's just such a cool thing where, I don't know, 17 years old winning USDGC is it's insane to me. It was... because I didn't get to watch it as much as I would have liked to, but I was scrolling through, UDisc and just refreshing. Then all of a sudden I see Gannon Buhr wins it. I'm like, no freaking way. Like, 17-year-old kid. And then finding out it's the youngest player ever to win it. It's just, I don't know. It's mind-boggling to me. And then watching kind of the highlight video. I love the highlights that the Disc Golf Pro Tour was putting out on YouTube. When I can't watch a Celtics game, I always try to watch the Celtics highlights. And
Yep.
I get that feeling of like, I probably know whether they're losing or winning, or like I love watching darts. And so I get to watch the darts highlight, and more than likely I know who won the event. But it's really cool just watching those massive putts, the shots that these players have to make, especially on these holes, the changes that happened with Winthrop this year. It's just crazy. I mean, how many USDGCs has Gannon even played? It's kind of the same thing. Nicolas Antilla, like, this was his first USDGC ever. And he was the first European player ever to be leading, and then leading to almost take it down.
Yeah, Gannon he is the second player to win in their second start. Nicola Castro being the only one other to do that. I mean, also Ken Climo did it in his second start, but that was the second year it happened, so kind of hard to use that one. So third, if you wanted to count that. But yeah, it is unprecedented to win that early. Nobody since Climo won.
I think I can hear Gannon.
Yeah, I think I can hear him.
Look at that. Had won it in their first start, so Nicolas was very close to getting that incredible record. But I'll hand it off to you, Matt.
I've been feverishly working behind the scenes, and Ben would be proud, intern Ben, seeing how much we're phone calls and troubleshooting. And I think we can hear you, Gannon, but can you hear us now? Looks like his connection's a little jumpy.
I was going to say, now, of course, the connection is going to be jumpy.
Let's see. Can you hear us, Gannon? Oh,
no.
Wow.
What a stone cold face, though.
Did we just hear him? No?
I thought we heard him. I heard something in the background. Wait.
This is
Oh,
hilarious.
now it's connection. Yeah.
This is hilarious. Something to do
This
with
is a couple weeks in a row.
connection
We're having some low key issues, but really quick, I just saw this in the chat from our boy David Fleck. But Harry Chase, a buddy of ours from the New England scene, won the Philly Open down in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Nice.
I want to say it was an A tier. I could be wrong. Maybe a B tier. But that's just a quick little shout out towards him. Before we get Gannon on, Casey White defended a title at the Norbrook Championships. So that's cool. We went back to back at that event. He actually had.
Oh
Wow.
no, are we losing Nick now too?
Now Nick is freezing up.
Oh
Evan,
man, we're dropping like flies.
Evan, don't
I was going
leave
to say,
me.
now, I literally, as I was saying that, I was like, great. And now I froze. Technical difficulties all over the world going on right now.
But
Yeah.
what's interesting is I can see a lot of information, and it was saying earlier today, Nick, that your packet loss was significant, and I was like, huh. So your internet was
weird.
funky. Okay. I'm going to try one more time here, and then we have a plan. If Gannon doesn't work out here, we have a plan to go try to get a laptop for him. So let's see if we can get this to work. Can you hear? Is he frozen again? Can you hear us, Gannon? This is hilarious.
Oh man,
This is the best moments of our show ever. We just get the stone cold Gannon Buhr stare down. I'm going to win the USDGC.
Yeah, this is like when we accidentally clickbaited Chris and Tatar in studio.
But this is just like freeze frames of Gannon. So
Yeah.
but
all right.
he's
The
like
plan
on the
is-
show.
He's on our show. He's just not talking. So the plan is, I did a phone call with him. I think that was probably his last attempt with the phone. He's gonna try to get a laptop, and he's gonna try to get it copied over. And he's gonna. His mom was there saying they're gonna hook him up. So let's see if that happens.
Nice.
In the meantime, while we wait on that, and I apologize everybody for how jumpy this show is going at this point. That was awesome interview. We're gonna let this next one be a great interview as well. But let's go ahead and jump to. Can we start talking about the format for the Disc Golf Pro Tour Championships? Who's most knowledgeable in this room right now? I know there's 4 rounds,
I
and
would
it's
have to assume
starting
you two.
on Thursday, correct?
Mhm.
Is there
Yeah.
a play-in, and when does that start?
Oh, I don't know the exact times of the play-in, but I do know that there are 2 players who get in. And as far as I know, there's no guaranteed cash to those players. But the 2 players who get in from the play-in would make the final 32 or final 16, and then are guaranteed cash. And then each round after that, it's top 4 players of that round would advance to the next round. And so you have players who are 17th in the Disc Golf Pro Tour standings to 30th play in the first round. The top 4 of them, including the 2 play-in winners, will advance to the quarterfinals, where they will join the 9 seed or 9th best in the Disc Golf Pro Tour standings up until the 16th. So that's 12 players in that round. The top 4 advance to the semifinals, where you'll meet the top 8 seeds. And again, 12 players, the top 4 from that will advance to the final round, final day. It'll be only 4 players for each division, and the winner will be the winner. And when I was going through that, I was going through the MPO. The FPO will have, I believe it's just 1 bye. Oh man, I need to double check this. But they only have 4 players in that top bye.
Okay. And it's interesting because the audio is working, but it keeps freezing up on his side. And I think that's partly our issue here. So, I think he's trying to get on the laptop, and this is exciting for everybody. I know, but, so you're right. I think that the people who are playing in are not getting paid, but the people, once they make it to round 4 are, and I think did you say the number there? I think it's like 2,400 or something.
For the payouts?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to grab the payouts real quick.
I'm pretty sure. I want to go find it myself because I felt like it was really generous, and I was happy to see this year how.
I have it right here.
Okay.
So if you make the top 4 is the same in both divisions, so I'll start with that. It's 35,000 to the winner, 20,000 to second place, 14,000 to third place, and 9,000 to fourth place. In MPO, if you make the semifinals, you earn $5,500, $5,500. If you make the quarterfinals, that's $3,500. And if you just play in the event, you either win the play-in and you get into round one, or you earned that spot in round one, you earn $2,500. And FPO, if you make the quarters, you earn $3,000. If you make the semis, it is $5,000. So, for example, I mean, Kristen Tatar, Catrina Allen, Paige Pierce, and Owen Scoggins. Wow, I need to refresh on who's that fourth spot in FPO. But they have all guaranteed themselves $5,000 because they have made semis. Players like Ricky Wysocki, Paul McBeth, and the rest of the top 8 in MPO have guaranteed $5,500. So no matter, even if they lose the first round they play, they still are guaranteed that money.
So why is money important? And it brings up a bigger conversation about how we make the, I know we have all different feelings on playoffs, but how the playoffs are going to stick around unless Jeff Spring really decides to change his mind. I think the way you make the playoffs more exciting is by putting more on the line, to that if it's harder to make it through round one, even like let Paul play it with an advantage. Like going back to my point, right? And so now the players that go, yeah, but now I travel all the way down there just to get knocked out in the first round and wasted, X time and money. Well, now, dude, you made round one, you're getting paid, and it's well worth your time to go in with $2,500 just for making the trip. So that's why I think the payout's important here. The fact that they're paying out $35,000 now for the winners, I wouldn't use the word exorbitant yet, but that is... There's nothing that's ever been paid. Yeah, there's nothing that's ever been paid out higher than that for a single win. So that's massive.
We have multiple players who might only play 2 rounds and literally make that much money.
Yeah.
What is there, 4 or 8 of them? 4 of them technically, who just play Saturday and Sunday potentially.
8 in MPO and 4 in FPO who will have the bye all the way to Saturday.
To potentially only play 2 rounds of disc golf and make
35,000.
What do we say? $35,000.
Yeah.
That's
and looking here, it is the play-in will be on Wednesday, and so then round 1 will be on Thursday. Round 2, which is the quarterfinals, will be on Friday. The semifinals will be on Saturday, with the final round being on Sunday. With only eight players all day, 4 in FPO, 4 in MPO, and there's something special about that. Like it's so incredible. I mean, we're spoiled with live coverage where we see upwards of 12 different players playing each round, or even if the lead card maybe isn't playing the great, like we saw in, round 3 at Usdgc, they weren't really playing great, and the chase card took over the whole, top 4 spots, and then they jump over to chase card. Now we're just watching chase card for the rest of the round. When you get to that final round, that's all it is. It's almost like kind of throwback post-produced now, or throwback still being today. But with like so much on the line, it's absolutely incredible. I mean, if you remember last year, both Adam Hammis and Haley King made the final round, but they both kind of got out of it about the front 9 in. And it was kind of weird seeing that, but then there's so much on the line with the people who are leading and going on to win. Like it's one of the most like spectacular events of the year. They really do something special and different with it that feels just different.
Yeah. One thing, and this is completely off subject, but we kind of forgot to talk about it earlier, which maybe after Gannon's interview, we'll talk a little bit more about USDGC. But as we're waiting for Gannon's interview, can we just talk about how it went from being a pay-per-view event to finally not being pay-per-view? If you were a DGN subscriber, you got to watch it just by being a DGN subscriber.
Well, I mean, technically it's pay-per-view, but it's like, it's a
subscription. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have literally,
True.
I mean, what did it cost last year? Does anyone remember?
Yeah. It was, I think, $25 for just the normal live.
For the pay-per-view for USDGC?
Yeah. If you just want, there's like different tiers, like if you want discs or post-produced and all that, but I think just for live coverage, it was 25 if I remember right.
So I forget what it is, but what's the normal monthly subscription for DGN?
Like $10.
It's less than that. I mean, someone could have literally paid 1 month of subscription and get...
Yeah,
and
you're a PDGA member, it's $5. So.
Yeah, and look at all the events that we're getting recently. You're getting the playoff events, you're getting the USDGC, you're getting the Throw Pink, you're getting
and some
the
events
Tour
are free.
Championships.
Like
I mean,
MVP Open was free if you're a PDGA member. Like you had to link your PDGA number. I don't even remember how it works because it's been so long. But
I will say the user interface though was pretty tough. Like it was tough to do the pay-per-view even through DGN last year. It was like, man, I got to loop this, loop that, find this playlist. It was a little bit crazy, but to Nick's point, and I'm glad you brought it up. It was seamless this year, and seamless. Let me put it this way. They're not doing post-production still. Now, some will say, yes, they are. So DGN is taking video coverage and they are doing their own post-production. I believe Terry Miller did some voiceover for the rounds, like commentary. And I think for the Throw Pink, I forget who they had do that. But the point is they were doing post-produce, but it's still up on DGN. So it's for subscribers. So how in the world did DGN secure that where they were how it was viewed? How come USDGC gave that up? I could be way off here, and I literally have nothing to base this off of except for my imagination. Did DGN say, like, all right, fine, we'll come out and produce it, like our crew is ready to go if you give us access to it? There would have to be more than that because the amount of money they were raking in last year with the pay-per-view. But like they must have got some major significant deal where USDGC said it was worth it. And DGN said it was worth it because they had exclusive access, or rights to it. So who knows? But it was something that happened, and we have Gannon in the green room, and I'm curious to know if we can hear him. Gannon, can you hear us?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
We can hear Gannon.
Let's bring him in. the celebration.
His internet works.
The celebration. It was wonderful. Gannon, we are so glad you stuck it out with that, just like you did at the USDGC. You like how I did that? I mean, the putts were coming in hot.
I was gonna make a time violation joke, but I'll refrain.
Goodness, we're not even 20 seconds into the actual interview.
No, I was saying, like, we scheduled Gannon for what 8:10, and it's he's just 22 minutes over. It's all right, He's a USDGC champ. He's allowed to do it. He's got the rings to prove it now.
Okay. Someone once said, if they're not razzing you, then they don't like you. So we like you a lot, Gannon, apparently. Last time you were on the show, Chris Dickerson was roasting you, and I think his wife Brittany was a little bit too. You were in studio. Good times. But let's let you get a word out. And I'll say this. I hope we aren't interrupting your senior homework assignments, but we definitely want to say congratulations. I think you used the words biggest thing to happen in your life to this point. Is that accurate?
Yes, for sure.
Is there what?
Now, Matt, you're not allowed to. Matt, I'm going to say this right now. You're not allowed to ask him this. Is this the biggest win of his career?
Yeah. Is this the?
You're not allowed to.
What's second? Like, if you could think of something, like what would even be close to it in your mind? Like, what do you relate things to?
Like in terms of how much it means to me?
Yeah. I mean, you said like this is first. What would be like second?
Yeah. My win at Masters Cup.
Yes.
There you go.
Awesome. That's awesome. So I will say this. I just said I don't like to talk to Catrina or any players about their money, but contract renegotiations are a thing. But how do you feel about your current situation? I mean, you start getting the wins. You just ready to ride out your 2 years. I think you're through 2024, right?
2023.
Oh. Mm-hmm. So, okay, next year would be.
So I'll be up at the end of the next year. So, I'm happy with where I'm at right now.
Okay.
Now you got some negotiation things to go with it, but dude, dive right into it. I mean, USDGC, massive putt on 17, clutch plays throughout the whole weekend, great shots on hole 10, especially that final round, being able to make that eagle on that shot when Niklas always plays it for birdie. Just bring us through the whole tournament. I remember seeing one of your posts. You were saying still on the chase card, going to make a push, and then boom, you're up on the lead card now, ultimately winning the tournament. But honestly, talk to us about the beginning of the week, coming into the end of everything.
Yeah, I'd made a post, I think before the first round. I don't know exactly how I phrased, but I just said I wanted to win this one so much. Like, this is the one I want to win. And, I've always felt, I guess the 2 years I've played at USDGC, I've felt pretty good about my game plans and the way it kind of sets up for my game. A lot of, you have airspace to work with, and there's a lot of flex lines, I feel like, and you can throw straight mids, putter shots, overstable fairways, and then obviously some overstable drivers. There's not a ton of like finesse shots out there. It's more about, working with what you feel most comfortable with. within the airspace that you have to get it close. So, I was feeling pretty good about it, and I'd gone through my head. I practiced the first half and the back half of the course a lot, and not so much the middle section. But it was kind of weird. I did the best in the middle section, it felt like. But yeah, I just start off. My goal was to shoot like a 5 down the first round. I originally thought like 22 was going to win the event, which obviously wasn't going to even be close. Conditions I think were just perfect, so that's why they were more under par. I went 6 down, 9 down, 12 down, and I had a double bogey in round 3 and round 4, which at both points in time when I got those doubles, I thought it was over. So, but I never quit fighting. There's always crazy stuff that can happen with him missing that putt on 14, and then missing another one on 16 and 17. So, it's just unreal how it all went down, and I'm glad it's over.
I would say now that you've had some time to, think about it, it's been a little over 24 hours since you tapped in that final putt. How has everything been within that last 24 hours?
Oh gosh, it's been so many messages on, Instagram, Facebook, just text message, iMessage, a lot of calls as well. It's too much to keep up with at the moment. So I'm going to probably after this work on getting some of those answered, make sure no one important has messaged me or anything. So, but yeah, it's just been amazing. All the support's been incredible. And, it's awesome.
Wow. You make the show feel special. You said you get bombarded, things are disappearing, but you did get back to us. So we really appreciate that. We gave a shout out to Alden Harris's vlog where you were mimicking, Statmando. And by the way, Evan absolutely loved that.
Nice.
Evan, you should lean into the camera and type really fast, and you could be the next Gannon Buhr. Yes.
Yeah, you got to get about 10 feet closer.
Yeah, my camera's too far away.
So we think that was totally cool, and it's hilarious. Again, if you haven't seen it, go over to Alden Harris's vlogs, and you can check that out, the recent one, Nick and Matt show. So you told us recently, again, you were in studio with Isaac, with Alden, and a group of others, and they were talking about your putts, and I said you made them look fairly easy. I feel like that happened again at USDGC, but in studio, you said, man, I'm pretty nervous usually with my putts. I'll tell you what, it didn't look that way, and I think in your post-round interview, you mentioned that, like, I don't think you were feeling that nervous, but maybe you can correct me. Maybe I misread that.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I guess everything before the double bogey on the final round of 13 was nerves. Like, I was scared to death to putt. I mean, my hand shakes whenever I'm that nervous, to the point where the putt feels almost impossible, and it feels like I'm just chucking it up there and hoping it goes in. But after the double bogey, I'd given up almost. So I was like, I know I was only down 3, but with how solid he had been playing, it was like, I thought it was over. Obviously, there wasn't like a ton of room to mess up except for 17, which I feel like isn't that hard of a hole. I feel like people have just made terrible decisions in the past on what to throw on that hole, and that's the only reason they've taken those big numbers. Because to me, I probably threw 25 shots in practice and I missed 1 time on the island. So, and I think it's, I just kind of lost hope. But I think because in a way I quit caring, I don't know, the nerves went bye-bye, and then I could kind of just focus on the shot more than the situation. I obviously took my deep breaths. I knew what the moments meant, but I didn't really have any nerves, I guess, which is like the first time ever.
Wow. So that's interesting. And you're attributing that to the fact that maybe you felt like you kind of felt like you were out of it. So it was kind of like nothing to lose. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah. I mean, I know I was so far ahead of, I'm not so far, but like a solid 3 strokes.
Yeah.
And then after, I think 14, 4 strokes ahead of 3rd place. So I was like, I'm just going to try to play consistent. If I get 4 of these last 5, I'll definitely I'll be in a playoff or I'm going to win. So
you did
after he missed that putt on 14, I knew he was going to be shaky. So I kind of just, it was, I don't realize it at the time, but I bet it's somewhat, intimidating, seeing me, play those last 5 holes to perfection, and then having, he had to basically match me. So
Yeah, I feel like it was hole 14 where you big putted him, right? I mean, that's what I call it. It wasn't like intentional on your part, but that's what happened. And so what was your read in that moment? Like, can you remember what went through your head when he, I don't know, missed that short putt compared to what you did? What was your thought in that moment?
I was like, I'm back in this now. You know,
Okay.
those 2 strokes I just lost, I got him right back in 1 hole, and you know, I was like, dang. Now, like all I was thinking is if I get 3 of these next 4 birdies, worst case, I'm in a playoff.
Mhm.
So because I just had a feeling he wouldn't, you know, birdie out. So, yeah,
Wow.
it was weird. Like I guess anytime I saw him close to the basket, I kind of just assumed he'd make the putt, and like that wasn't really true to that back 9. So, yeah, it was just insane how it all went down.
I want to hop in here for a second. So after you're putting 17 and Niklas misses it, and you have a 1-stroke lead going into 18, both of you pretty much match each other's shots on your drive off of 18. Niklas goes first, parks the hole. I know you can't quite see it from there, but you, based on the cheers, you probably had to know he was right there. So now you're going to step up to throw your second shot. What was going through your mind? Was there nerves stacking up there now that you had the lead and you knew if you parked it, you were going to be the U.S. champion? Were you thinking like, well, at least it's going to be a playoff? What were your thoughts?
But if you go OB, I mean, I went through every scenario and I wasn't even playing it. So yeah, tell us what you were thinking, Gannon.
I went through every scenario in my head, and there was almost no scenarios where I push a playoff. I either win or I lose because the green's so tight. You know, it's weird because it's almost easy to park it if you throw the correct shot, but then it's really easy to go OB, and you're going to be OB 40 feet from the basket. You're not going to be OB like next to the basket. So that's kind of, I guess, kind of my mindset. So you can see in my second shot in 18, I hit that little leaf on that tree. I was literally aiming at that leaf when I was throwing my shot, which is crazy. So I hit my line within like an inch of where I wanted to. I was kind of having that as like my aiming point, and then fade like just in front of it or kind of around that limb. I know I couldn't throw it any wider or any tighter. It'd be OB left or right. And all I could think about was, you know, I lost like Vegas on a short up shot. I mean, not the Vegas up shot was super easy too. I just made the mistake of, you know, sure it was a little bit of a bad roll at the end of that last shot, but I also could have played it short in the hill instead of, you know, trying to park it. So I was kind of just thinking, what can go wrong? And then the second I left my hand, and you can hear me say, I think yes or let's go. Once it got past that tree, I'm like, okay, now it's nothing but just free, safe ground from there. And you know, the second I heard the cheers louder than Nicholas, I knew it was pretty much over. And by the time I went up and walked about 150 feet away past that tree where Calvin's drive landed, which was crazy, his drive was insane. Isaac, Alden, and Gavin were right there, and I'm like, how far is it? Kind of just like wondering if they can give me a measurement, and they're like, you mean that far? So at that point, I knew it was pretty much over. I mean, that last putt was like 15 feet, but it was still, you know, a little nervy.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm telling you, like, so whenever I get the opportunity to talk to players, meet players in person, I have this newfound, like, oh, I'm a fan of this player. And so the reality is I'm a fan of so many players right now, but you have a storyline that is really intriguing and interesting. You've heard the stat a million times now, youngest player to do this at the Usdgc, the story of you being a major fan of Will, the first event you've been at, there's videos circulating about that. We've asked you on your first interview, your second interview on this show, like, hey, how does your age play into this? I mean, you've had a lot building into this. It's so early in your career. You've heard that a million times. Where do you go from here? Like, try to win it again? Like, Worlds? Like, what is it?
Yeah, I think it's going to make winning a lot easier, honestly.
Okay.
I'd been so stressed out. I wanted to win almost too bad. Being so close so many times on the Pro Tour. A couple notable ones, obviously Vegas, Jonesboro. I triple bogeyed the island hole and ended up losing by 4, and that's almost like a gimme birdie. It feels like. I mean, sure it was a little windy, but you know, if I birdie that hole, I'm in the playoff with Calvin and Paul. I know it's a little bit of a far stretch, but it's possible. And you know, Idlewild obviously was only like 3 back after shredding the first 2 rounds, and clearly wasn't enough because Isaac just destroyed that tournament. And then at Maple Hill as well, being, I had the lead half, after the front 9 and ended up losing by 2 because I double bogeyed again. And that whole week at MVP just felt like it was full of bad breaks, and it felt like it was out of my control. And no matter what I did, like my really good shots would have a good result, and then my good shots would just get destroyed by trees. It felt like. So to finally, just the second I heard those cheers, it was just so awesome, and I think it's going to make winning a lot easier because I don't have that much pressure to get that first win, and especially it's a major win. It's much bigger than a Pro Tour event. So, yeah, I think less pressure and hopefully more wins moving forward.
Now, do you feel a lot of players, it's kind of maybe almost 50-50 now at this point, but feeling the prestigiousness from a World Championships to the United States Disc Golf Championships, and you played both of them this year. Now, how do the two tournaments kind of differ from each other when it comes to that prestigious feel?
Yeah, I don't know. Worlds is tough to have like a prestigious feel because one, it's at a different course every year, and I mean, no hate to Emporia or the courses, but just the land that they have to work with, it's not very I feel like exciting to watch. It's a lot of people. I know there's a lot of people that aren't a fan of Emporia, and so I don't know, I just did. I wanted to win Worlds really bad, but I didn't have the fire that I did for this event, and I don't know. Usdgc, you come back to the same course every year. It's the first event I ever really watched on camera, and that's why Will Schuster became my favorite player, is because he won. And then obviously I was kind of a bandwagon at that point, kind of in a way, because it was the first person who won. I was like, oh, he's the best. I'm gonna, he's my favorite player now. Obviously I didn't know too much. I just saw that off that one video, and then my mom drove me there the next year, and then 7 years later to win it is just insane. And getting to see these holes, the trees grow every year, or to play some of the older holes that are still on the ground today is just incredible.
Can I talk about the course? This is your second year coming into the event. Did you like the changes? One of the most notable ones I would say is hole 3, combining hole 3's tee pad into 4's basket. Did you like the changes that Winthrop brought this year?
There's a couple of changes I like and a couple I really didn't like. Let's see. I'll just go through the whole course, I guess.
Yeah.
Hole 2, not a huge fan of. It seemed old hole 2 was perfect. It was, you throw a good drive, you still have the OB parking lot on the left, and the OB fence on the right, and then I guess with the mozzarella sticks that they didn't have this year. But it still made it difficult, but it was a very fair hole. This year it was a little tight up by the basket, OB right and left, probably only 40 feet from each other. Uphill, super low ceiling, kind of a weird line too, and with Amando the low ceiling, it was just kind of a weird hole. It felt like too much of a bonus birdie. It felt like there was going to be a lot of pars, a lot of bogeys, but really no birdies, so not a ton of score separation. It didn't feel like it was a birdie. I mean, you had to basically pure the drive within like a foot of where you want to birdie that hole. Hole 3 is probably my least favorite change on the course. It's really just a bad hole. You look at the scores. I mean, the final round there was 2 birdies and I was one of them. And I bet there was maybe 1, maybe 2 players inside circle 1 for a birdie on that hole. There's the tee is really weird. You have these like concrete blocks like on the back of the tee, and you want to kind of tee off from the top right of the tee to cut that corner because they didn't trim the trees on the left. So that was hard to kind of like, it was hard to get left, but then you also have the hazard on the left. It was just, it's an impossible hole, but it's also like, I mean, my double bogey was from a 4 putt. It wasn't, that almost never ever happens. So you consider that, and you're gonna have just a bunch of pars, a couple bogeys, and like 1 birdie. So there's no score separation. It doesn't really separate the really good players that can execute the shots to the players that may haven't done didn't do so good at the event. Hole 4, I'm not a huge fan of it. The gap it's way bigger on camera. The gap looks huge on camera.
Really?
That gap is tiny.
Okay.
I mean, I could like basically lay my body and I'd be the size of the gap. It's like 300 feet down the pipe. It just seems like, I feel like if you if you throw a decent shot, you should get rewarded, and it was a little punishing. I laced it like 2 of the rounds, but that still doesn't take away from the fact that, almost good shots just got, completely screwed for a bogey. So not a huge fan. 5 with them moving it closer to the water, I'm not a huge fan of it. I think it makes people, they don't want to run the putt as much and that just makes it less exciting. I thought it was a perfect hole the way it was. Not a huge change, but a little bit of a difference. Let's see. Hole 9 doesn't have the poles anymore. That has like the Christmas trees, the fake Christmas trees. I didn't mind that change. I think it made it a little bit easier, and I think they opened the green up. So I think it's a pretty fair hole. It's one you want to get, but it can also give you a bogey. So kind of cool. Mm-hmm. And one that was probably the most speculated was hole 11, with the way it looks so weird. I'm actually a huge fan of that change. I think it's once you play the course enough and figure out where you want to land, there's actually spots where you can pick exactly where you want to land. And if you throw a good shot, you're going to get rewarded with that. And then the second shot, same thing, just throw a good shot and you're going to get rewarded. I'm a big fan of that. So there wasn't really any gimmicky stuff, even though it looked kind of weird. Mm-hmm. And 13 is probably another one of the worst changes. There was nothing wrong with the hole before, honestly. It's just a really kind of dumb tee shot. I don't hate the hole itself. It's just a downgrade, it feels like, from the hole prior. It's such an iconic hole to go across the parking lot, and that's where people take these big numbers.
Yep.
I'd like to see him bring back the original 888. I think that's a great hole. Mm-hmm. It brings a lot of score separation, and it's if you birdie it, it's well deserved. And there's no reason tree should be 2 inches from the chains. I was just outside the bullseye, and I had to take 30 seconds to just find a window that I could barely hit, and that you should never have to worry about that.
And the camera's microphones picked you up. I think you said this is so stupid.
Good. They need to change
there you go. Good for you.
It played really tough. It's not like a terrible hole. It's just very difficult, and it's a downgrade. That's kind of the reason I don't like it. Mm-hmm. Let's see.
Did they say why for any of this? By the way, you can go on to the next hole, but it looked like it was probably a parking thing. They're trying to get more people there to view, and so they had to give that up.
I heard that, but to be honest, they would only be able to get maybe 60 more cars in there. Okay. Which I feel like isn't a huge difference.
Yeah.
You already have 1,000 parking spots around the rest of the campus, and then just to take away a good hole for 60 more.
Yeah.
Kind of seems like a little bad.
The tee shot looked miserable on that hole. It didn't look good.
Agreed, 1,000,000%.
I didn't
care
for it.
It's a low ceiling tee shot over a massive hill. Into, there's no way to get it to the ground fast. You have to do that, and then people were cheating at taking a hyzer, and that just takes away from what the intended hole was. Even the hole we played last year was fine. There was just no reason to change it. I'm not a huge fan of that's the whole thing of USDGC is it's cool to come back and play the same holes. It's okay if they make slight changes in the OB lines, I feel like, but when you completely destroy the hole, it's a little frustrating. But that's pretty much it for the rest.
Because then you birdied out 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Any of those holes.
Exactly. Yeah. You get done with the dumb hole, and then you just play the good holes,
Yeah, there you go. The one really bad hole you did bad on. The rest of the good holes you did really, really well on. So,
overall the course is really fun. It's pretty fair. There's maybe 1 or 2 gimmicky holes. The only reason I wouldn't like the other holes is because there's no score separation, and I'm a fan of, because I'm, I guess, in the higher end players, that if I throw a good shot, I should deserve a birdie. Where someone else that might not throw a good shot, we're just all going to get pars anyway. So,
Well, I'm thinking to myself, we are lucky to get you on here. You are bombarded with interviews. I think you had correct me if I'm wrong, you had 3 interviews immediately following your win. Separate interviews.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I have a bunch to do tomorrow. Press conference, another thing I'm filming. I think maybe another podcast tomorrow night. And then I called a dude on the spot today. from my local news channel, trying to just get some stuff figured out and how to make a story about that, and then trying to get some stamps designed for the disc that will come out for my
Very
win.
cool.
But so it's been really busy, and I'm still need to, like I said, check through the messages to see what they have.
So
Do you have an idea of what disc is that you're coming out with?
I think so. I think I'm hopefully probably maybe a 350 GPA3 what I putt with.
Mhm.
I think that's just gonna be super sick to have a U.S. champion on that disc that I'm just so confident with. I think it's one of the best putters on the market. I mean, the best putter in my opinion. Obviously, on Team Prodigy we have a bunch of good putters, and I think part of that reason it could be the disc. Who knows? But the A2. I'm not sure what plastic it would be in. Potentially bringing back an older plastic, which would be really exciting.
Mhm.
The same plastic that I throw all my upshots with, the 450 A2, which
Mhm.
hadn't been released since like 2018. So
What was the
that
disc you were throwing on hole 10?
that's a really old run D3. It's really
Okay.
it's like a mutant D3. D3s aren't supposed to be that overstable.
Yeah. The only
Um,
D3 that I've ever seen fly like that are the old Will Schustrick ones that had his
Yep.
stamp on it from like long, the white ones.
the white ones with the copper and black.
Yep.
I think I have 2 of those with that stamp on it, and then I have, I think 3, no, probably 4 more. I think I've maybe 5 more. 2 or 3 Cameron Cold Glazer ones from the same run. I have a double G one from that run, and maybe 1 more.
Yeah.
So that's a 400G. I was throwing a 400 plastic blend for that shot on 10, and it's such a good disc. It's just reliably overstable. Wind doesn't really affect it, and I can trust it.
Yeah, it's crazy the amount of ante you're putting on it and having it
Yeah.
still come back the way that it was pretty filthy. And not to knock the commentators, but I can never trust what disc they're saying because 90% of the time they're wrong about what disc it is. So I figured I would just ask you.
I think Ian called it a D model OS.
Yeah,
which
exactly.
okay.
we've never really made them in that kind of a color, I guess. So,
Apparently, when you were here last, you looked at some of my Prodigy plastic that I had, and you're like, "Oh, this would go for $80 on auction right now." And I'm like, "Dang, I should just give it to you, and you can sell it and make the money." But now you're making loads. If you win the championship, is that $60,000? If you're able to, like in the last week, it'll be 60 grand, and I mean that's different. That's different to say. I want to do something real quick. Just bring in our intern producer. He just showed up here in studio. I want to let him ask a question.
Gannon, let's go. I just drove over 2 hours to Matt's studio to let you know that I called it. I knew you're gonna win.
I saw that clip.
Yeah, I knew it. Super gassed about it. I was literally 2 hours away, and I drove just here. So I just wanted to congratulate you on that win. And I guess my question would be any inspiration for the young guns out there that are just picking up the game, seeing you getting inspired by a major win. On just any inspiration for that, motivation, any advice for the young and up and coming generation, like you were to or Will Schustrick was to you.
Yeah, I think you always follow your dreams, and if it'd be best if you pick one dream you want to follow, I feel like, and just put all your time into that. And you might think you'll never get there, but it'll happen one day if you put the work in. But I also think it's very important to do it correctly. If you don't work correctly in whatever you do, when in disc golf, we'll just say form. I think that's one of the main reasons that I got as good as I have is because I've studied form, and then I've put the time in with the form. And I think after that, it makes it so you can basically throw any shot you want to. And if disc golf is what you want to pursue, for any of those kids, just work on your form and forever, basically, until you're satisfied. I'm still working, today on my form to get maybe a little more distance or something. So, there's always work to be done, and make sure you do it correctly. That way you can improve the fastest, and just make sure you're doing it the right way.
So I'll go on record and say I already told you when you were up in the studio, my form is literally based off Gannon's. I try and study his, and I showed him it, And, you know, so far I've had a little bit of success. Finally 900 rated. I was 780 last year. So he's right.
There you go. You
It's
have
all
like
about the form, baby.
500. You got like 500 in the tank if you really get on one.
Yes, sir. You saw. I got it over that lake.
You did.
I'm doing something wrong, Gannon. I'll figure out how to pay you to come out here and help me. Apparently,
Watch his YouTube videos. They're actually amazing. I'm not even kidding. They make so much sense. Like, who knew you threw with your shoulders? Not me, until Gannon said it.
So we have got to this place where we're pretty much done. There's so much we could talk about forever, but like you told me when I called you up prior to the interview tonight, you're like, I'm actually right now practicing. I think it was Nevins is what you were probably practicing. Yeah. And had you ever seen it or played there before? And what's your general first thoughts about the course?
Yeah, I think I played like 12 holes. The main issue is daylight, actually. We kind of lost daylight. So, and I put in the wrong layout on Udisc, so I went to like the wrong hole. So I started on like hole 7 or something, and then I played like hole 17 or something like that. It's such a sick course. There's a couple lines that seem like gimmicky, like you lace it and then you'll hit like one tree and then you'll be done for. The rough is basically Northwoods black, so that's going to be interesting for sure. I already think I made a decent game plan on a couple of the holes, and that's just to stay in the fairway. Don't even go for any distance, because you can always go for it on the second shot. Just don't lose it on the first shot, trying to go for too much. I don't know. It's a little weird. Everyone pretty much knows now that I prefer flex lines or hitting gaps on anhyzer. I think it's a lot easier to hit my release point, the angle, the touch of the shot. And out here, there's a bunch of hyzer flips out of the gaps, and the gaps are really tight, and I'm really terrible at that, honestly. So I've been having a little bit of issues pulling or early releasing some shots. So hopefully I can get that dialed in. But the course seems super sick, and it looks like it'll be a bunch of fun.
Very cool.
So between school not being completed yet, interviews, podcast with, you know, this tournament that's still coming up, the potential to win so much money, you go back to your classes after all of this. And us in the disc golf world, we think it's pretty big what we're doing. And quite frankly, I mean, we know the stories, we know what's going into it, and it is big. But in the whole like concept of the world and sports, it's not that big yet. But you go back to your classes and your teachers, and like, are they starting to believe you? Like, you went and earned how much money? You know, like, I mean, what do they think of it?
I don't know. It just depends on the teacher, honestly. Some think it's cool. Some don't care at all. Some don't like it because I'm never in school. But I think most of them are pretty cool about it, and they actually enjoy it and follow it, which is nice. But you know, when I go back to school, you know, no one really says anything. Kind of just go back to PE class and do my stations.
Nobody wants autographs? I mean, come on, they got to be lining up at the door.
Oh, no, they never let the doors open for the people.
After this
People
one,
are
they
lining
will.
up. The people are lining up out the school. They're
Yeah,
like, no, Gannon's busy. I find all this really intriguing, man. I think if I ask the question, like, what's your long-term goal for like your career? I'm assuming it's to graduate high school and then be full-time disc golf as long as you can. Is that right?
Yep. And then after my body breaks down and I'm old, I'll do something else with disc golf, whether that's teaching disc golf. I feel like I just based off the comments on my YouTube channel, I can teach in a way that other people might not teach it, I guess, right, or in a way you can understand it. And that's my whole goal, is so that people can understand it and they can improve off that and get the correct teaching, so they can improve the fastest. Or, you know, make my own company, work for any manufacturer that I'm with at the time, anything really in disc golf.
We got to come up with some like brand and marketing. It's like Burr ice cold or something.
Gannon's burritos.
All right,
Oh,
don't.
That's genius.
Don't let Matt do your campaign.
No, sorry. Wow. I think that's all I had. Unless, did we drop any cool stats for him, Evan? Did I miss it when I was trying to like line up both Ben in the studio and Gannon?
I made
Tell him
it.
his cash
Let's
per
go.
throw. Tell him his
cash per
cash per
throw.
throw.
Ooh.
Earned.
Boy.
So
Oh, wait,
Gannon,
let him. Gannon, if you had to guess, If you had to guess, we can tell you the amount of strokes you threw the disc 223 times.
Just pull out a
You made
calculator.
$25,000. Let's see your high school math at work right now. Do you have a general idea of your cash per throw?
It's gonna be so bad.
Yeah, that's
Like
tough.
100 and wait, no,
You could just round it like that. That's fine. It's pretty good.
like $120 per throw.
You know,
Yeah,
that was
all
actually
right.
really close.
Give
I
this-
thought, dude, if
give
you had
him
said
his
112,
GED
I was
just
going to
now.
say he's been watching the show.
It was 100 and what, Evan?
$112.11
That's just crazy.
And you ready?
every single time you threw it,
and your
including
classmates,
OB strokes.
yeah, your classmates won't understand the strokes per throw dollar amount. I mean, they'll be like, "That's okay," but if you say, "Listen, I was making $103 per minute," then maybe that would throw something their way. They'll be like, "What? Like I make $18 an hour?"
And
You're
he
like,
only works 3 hours a day.
That's why I'm so grateful to be in this sport and where I'm at is because I honestly like when I think of workout, I just would hate it. I feel like so. Disc golf is very stressful. I just remember saying yesterday, I want to get this day over with as quick as possible. I honestly didn't want to play. I was having trouble eating because I was so nervous. I didn't want to eat anything. So that's how it actually is like every day of a tournament. So it's a little rough, but every time the weekend or the next week comes by, little stress gets taken off, and that's nice. So, but yeah, them having to work hourly jobs and not making a ton of money. That's why I feel so blessed to be in the sport.
Amen.
awesome, man. The floor is yours. I know you're gonna have so many opportunities. You've already talked a lot. Is there anything you want to shout out or say at all? It's yours. Otherwise, we'll let you go.
Just thanks to my friends, family, and sponsors, and just all the support from everyone. It's been incredible. I have too many people to thank. So
That's great.
but yeah.
Well, thank you for coming on the show and taking the time out of your day. We
Well,
really appreciate that, Gannon.
It's like we've got the direct presidential line right to Gannon. I really appreciate that. We got to keep that going. So thanks for coming on, Gannon. Good luck out there. As I said, you've made a fan out of me for so many reasons, and I know Ben in here is a big fan. And
I'm a fanboy.
we got the fan boy. But long story short, thank you very much. Privilege and an honor. Congratulations and good luck out there. We'll stay in touch and see you around, man.
Sweet.
Peace
Thank
out.
you, guys.
See you, dude.
All right. So
Ben, did you go to a Halloween party and dress up like The Rock when he had the fanny pack picture?
Nope. This is so my girlfriend has this family tradition. They climb up or they drive up a mountain 2 hours away in North Adams, Mount Greylock. And this is one of the things I bought there. Nice smiley face bead, and this is the outfit I wore. So no, this is just who I am.
it's awesome.
Well, do you know the picture that I'm
Yes,
talking about?
with
Though?
the fanny pack. Yes, 100%. But
Okay.
Oh
yeah,
man,
I literally
That's
drove
a-
2
that's a
hours
good one,
away
Nick.
straight here. Like I had to come, and the chat was going off saying my job is much more secure now, so that was fun to see.
It's secure for so many reasons. It's much harder to multitask
Yeah.
and press buttons and talk at the same time.
But-
So
Yeah,
I won't miss. I won't miss again unless I'm
No.
sick.
so a few notable things to me that stood out about that interview, and I don't remember who asked it, but we said something along the lines of like getting this big win out of the way, or we didn't say it that way, but he alluded to the fact that he thinks wins are going to come easier. And I think that was in response to you, Nick. And it was like, wow, if he's accurate, which the case could be made, you get this one off your back. If he's accurate, then that's a big deal. Like, okay.
All right, I got a question. Who wins USDGC
Next year.
first? Gannon again or Ricky Wysocki?
Ricky
Matteo.
You think Ricky, Evan?
I think so. It's so hard to win USDC twice. Like, I mean, Paul Macbeth's done it 3 times. Will Schustrick's done it 3 times.
Barry Schultz has done it 3 times.
Yeah,
Ken
Barry
Klimo's done it
Schultz,
5 times.
Ken Klimo.
Nate
And I
Doss has
think-
done it.
Twice. There's
Twice?
a couple people who have done it twice. I can look
Yeah.
it up while we're talking.
Yeah.
But it's so hard to do, and I don't know. Like Gannon could
It's
do
hard.
it again. Like he obviously has the skills too. He has,
Well,
the experience there.
so-
He could, but like Ricky, like he has it. Of course, I
Yeah.
think it totally is mental with him. You saw how he responded when he had the lead in round 3, and he didn't birdie a hole until like hole 14.
Yeah.
Like that's so un-Ricky like he's a fantastic player, of course, and there's the whole talk of majors versus other wins, all that going on, but he has it. Like obviously he does.
I say Gannon since I predicted this one.
I think Gannon would win USDGC before Ricky does. I think personally. I mean, I understand what he's saying in the sense of like now that he's got what do you call it, the monkey off the back or whatever.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of like when you remember when Paige was right on the cusp of trying to get to 1,000 rated.
Yeah, I do.
And then it dropped, and it's like wow, and it was a significant drop at that. Had she hit the 1,000 rated, I think that's a different thing to where like, you know what, I've done it, I can do it again. But like now that she's done it, okay, she proved that she could do it. You know what I mean? Now I think it'd be almost easier to like, I'll say this, I'm just barely above 1,000 rated, but since I've been 1,000 rated, I haven't dropped below it. Like I think it's easier to stay above 1,000 rated than it was getting to 1,000 rated. And you know, I think that's, I mean, players are still evolving, players are still getting a lot better. Gannon's only 17 years old. He's going to get significantly better, I think, with just in general. I did want to ask him what's one thing in his game that he feels like is missing right now. And I did like how he said he likes hitting lines, especially in the woods on Annie's. I think that's really cool because I'm the exact opposite. I like more of that kind of hyzer flip line. Throw something a little bit understable, get it to flip up to flat, and then ride. When trying to do not like a force over shot, but that touch of Annie right off the rip, I think it's just a really, really impressive shot that I don't throw nearly as well as a lot of players do. But I think kind of going back to just my question in general, I think it's the same thing. Like who wins USDGC first, Paul or Ricky? You know?
Well, I think the question when it's centered around USDGC makes it really tough because it is so hard to win it twice, as I was saying. I looked it up, and it is only those 4 players, Climo, Schultz, Schustrick, and Macbeth, who have won it multiple times. It's so hard to win it multiple times. Like, besides Macbeth, we haven't seen a multi-time winner since Schustrick in 2014. I think that was his last time he won. Like, that's so many years in a row with anyone not named Macbeth winning twice. So that's just like its own question. But to Gannon saying that wins are going to be easier, I think that's absolutely true. Like, I think he's at least going to get a couple next year. Now that he got this, he's going to feel the like less like pressure to get that monkey off his back. I mean, Vegas was one thing. That was his first time kind of there, and he almost had it. But we saw it as he was going through all of his events. I'm not going to give him that Jonesboro almost won. Like that, you can't go back to hole 6. I'm sorry, Gannon.
Yeah, no.
But like Ledgestone absolutely was in. Like he was fighting in like the last 6 holes. He was nearby, and then he just would drop off. MVP was the same thing. Where he's in that hunt, he's right there, and then all of a sudden he's gone. And I think those ones will stop. He won't feel the pressure. He has to get it. And I think your point of Paige Pierce trying to hit 1,000 or Paige Pierce trying to go for 6 time, Ricky trying to get a major again, all those are true. That there's so much pressure there, whether you say it or not, that Gannon was in the same boat to get that first win. Now that he has it, it's going to flow.
So
not like 10 wins a year, but I
think I wouldn't be surprised if Gannon drops 1 or 2 Elite Series events a year and maybe throw in another major every other year. Like that wouldn't surprise me at all.
That would be nasty.
I mean, out of the young guns that are up and coming on the tour, like let's take the Kyle Kleins, the Gannon Buhrs. There's a couple of the Cole Redallins. Like Gannon, I think is significantly. Kyle Klein almost won USDGC last year. I mean, he forced the playoff. So he's been right there in contention to win a major. Elite Series events, Kyle does have a win or 2. I think one or 2 of them.
Yeah, he only has Idlewild.
Okay. I couldn't remember if he won Michigan, but I think he lost by 1.
He was close at D-Glow. He was close at UGC. He had a few others. But I know where you're going with it too. I'll just say real quick that Gannon's just been so much more consistent than any other young player we've seen. We saw Adam Hammis get 2 wins last year. We saw Kyle Klein get the 1 win and 2 other second place finishes. We've seen other young guns be like, wow, this guy is the future. And then they have those weeks where they're mysteriously gone and we have no clue where they went. Gannon has not been that. He's maybe had like 2 events outside like the top 25. Like the rest of this year, he's been right there with every other big name player, just missing the wins. And now he has it. I think it's a different scenario than any other young player.
Okay. I have to get to this. we've got to talk about it. Hempfield Botanicals. This product, when applied, has a nice, well, specifically this muscle recovery, a very nice cooling sensation followed by what you know is a pain relief. It's also a muscle recovery for your general aches and pains. 20% off if you go over to Hempfield Botanicals. If you use the code Nick and Matt, get 20% off. This is targeted pain relief, the salve. And we always talk about Nick's favorite, and it's starting to get to that season specifically where you use chapstick. This is not Snapstick. This is chapstick. And this is the Hempfield CBD chapstick. All great products, fantastic. Very happy to partner with them. They've been very happy to partner with us. Thank you very much for supporting Hempfield Botanicals. Again, go check them out, hempfieldbotanicals.com. Get 20% off using the code Nick and Matt. Let me first say, was Paul McBeth his best when he was 17 years old? No. Was pick any player out there. Were they their best? No. Can we say that with all confidence that right now, Gannon is not his best right now? I think we can say that with pretty high confidence level. Gannon is not his best. The fact that he just won this now and he's probably going to continue to develop. I mean, I guess there's an absurd idea that he's reaching his ceiling really early and now he just needs to refine it. But if this is not his ceiling, I said it the very beginning of this year after LVC, I expect him to win a few worlds. Who knows if that happens? It's not like I'm the guy who decides that, but very high ceiling for him.
It reminds me of LeBron James. He was hot off the scene. Took the Cleveland Cavaliers rookie year to the championship, and then it's not like he ever peaked. He just
I thought they missed the playoffs that year, did they?
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think he brought him to the championship his rookie year.
Oh well, it was what
I thought they were still
dog.
I'm pretty sure
they had the number one pick for the reason.
All right.
If they went to the first round of the playoffs, I wouldn't be surprised.
Fact
but at the
check
same
me.
time,
But I'm just saying he just kept climbing.
Stat or
he
fact?
never
Yeah.
peaked.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we can wrap that
LeBron
conversation
James
up.
is Gannon Buhr.
We all agree Gannon's incredible. And there's other players who are going to be incredible, and there have been, and you can see their talent, but there's something here. I hope that he's able to get all the coaching for how to continue through this career of his. That's a lot to manage. Like, I know he's still got his parents helping right now, but there's a lot that's coming at him, and he's going to have to settle in. I wouldn't be surprised if there was some weird decline if he's trying to figure this whole disc golf career out, but he's on the right track. Let's wrap up with this. We're well over time already, and some don't care. We don't fully care, but I kind of do. We all work. But Here it is. It's going to be pretty simple. I know it's not going to be, but it could be. Player of the year, we talked about prior to USDGC. Player of the year post USDGC. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, I said, so if nobody wins out of Paul, Ricky, or Simon, or Chris Dickerson, which really was just kind of like a fringe topic for Chris Dickerson, but if none of them win, then who's the player of the year? And I'm pretty sure, well, we know Ricky said he was, but I'm pretty sure Ricky is kind of where we had all landed, and Nick might have said, I'm not sure, but is that I'll throw it to the stat man, the stat man and Statmando. Throw it to the stat man in the show. Like, is it Ricky pretty obvious, or where are you at with that?
I think it is. I know there's arguments to be made. I would say mainly for McBeth, depending on what you factor. I factor wins as the most. I mean, you can factor major wins as more, but 4 Elite Series wins compared to 1 Elite Series win and 1 major, I'm going to have to side with the 4 Elite Series wins. Of course, Simon also has 4 Elite Series wins, and at that point, I would bring it to other factors. I mean, the strength of field in those wins, and then also the rest of the season, how you consistency, as a lot of people will say. So I think it's Ricky. I think it's locked up unless McBeth or Simon wins Tour Championship, and then it'll kind of get really confusing on how much you weight that event. Yep. But I totally understand why people are maybe going towards McBeth right now. When you look at majors, I mean, 3 out of the 4 majors, McBeth finished in the top 4. Champions Cup was the only one he didn't, and he still had that incredible round and worked his way back up to, I think, top 15, at least top 20.
Top 10.
Top 10. Wow. Okay. Look at me. And then Ricky, on the other hand, the last 2 majors has kind of made a spark, but then have fallen off and was kind of out of contention for the last round or two. And that says something a lot, especially with the Player of the Year voting, which I think is a little bit of recency bias. We tend to weight USDGC, Worlds, the last couple Elite Series events more than we do, the first month and even the first major of Champions Cup. So there's a lot you can go with it. I'm not going to fault anyone for saying Paul Macbeth or Simon Lizotte, but I do think it is pretty clearly Ricky Wysocki right now.
There's two other thoughts here or reminders or things to at least point out is there's PDGA Player of the Year. That's strictly points factored. It's going to say, here's how you participated in an event. Here's the events you won. Here's the points you get. There's also a Disc Golf Pro Tour Player of the Year, which right now, I don't know, how everybody feels about that, but there's also that, and it's a different factor. Evan, you have the breakdown. I know that it's going to be vote-based, and they're giving media a vote because I'm on DGN show. I get a vote, as in League Night, DGN, and Evan, you are a stat guy contracted by Disc Golf Pro Tour. I believe you get a vote, but there's 30% is going to be media vote. Do you know the rest of the breakout there?
Yeah, so it's a third media vote. It'll be a third your Disc Golf Pro Tour standings placement, and then it'll be a third your average finish at majors and the Tour Championship. So those 5 events combined. It will be based on your rank, not necessarily the point value. But even though Ricky and Paul were less than 5 points apart, Ricky will be a rank of 1 for the Pro Tour standings. Paul Macbeth will be a rank of 2. Paul Macbeth has a better, majors and Tour Championship finish, although the Tour Championship hasn't happened. But from the 4 majors, he has the best average placement. If that stays, he will be the number 1 rank. And then so on. Right now it's Matt Orm as number 2, Calvin Heimberg as 3, and that rank would go down as well. And then you merge all 3 together. They're each valued equally, and whoever has the best rank will be Player of the Year.
Imagine if it splits, like PDGA goes one way and then Pro Tour goes another way. It would be like the fans could have the best of both worlds, and they'd all say which is the better ranking system.
I think that's probably what's going to happen. I think because all right, so does DGPT, does this the Pro Tour Championships, does that count towards the PDGA's Player of the Year?
To the PDGA's
I
Player
would
of the Year?
assume so. It's a PDGA event.
Is it a
Sanctioned.
PDGA event though? Because it's
a
Each
different
round. Yeah.
Only 2016 was not a PDGA sanctioned event. Every other one since has been sanctioned.
Okay.
It used to be an XA tier for 2017 and 18. I think in 2019 it switched to being officially a national tour event. And so I believe now it is considered an ES tier, so Elite Series.
Gotcha. Okay.
I would assume it's factored the same. I'll also do a shameless plug that Statmando, we have our official Player of the Year that you can, it's not on Stat Zone, it's on the rankings tab, but you can view our Player of the Year as it gets updated each week. And so, we do have Ricky Wysocki and Kristen Tatar winning both as of now. I think it's a pretty good system, but I do think that there's other good systems too, like PDGAs, and
you can sell your own.
End up being the
You're
Pro
just
Tour.
not that guy to be like hardcore. We have the best, because that's not who you are. But I think you probably believe it is the best if you guys put it up.
He is.
Yeah.
Whoa, painting the picture about me.
Fair, he's like, the rest of these suck.
That is not true.
No, it's not.
I'm kidding.
It's not
I
true.
think so. Okay, as a numbers guy, I obviously like the numbers. I really do like our system. I will say there's a lot to be said about media voting. I will say, let's say, trying to think of the best words to say, but media is a good way to do it. Last year we saw the fan vote go different way, and it went really heavily recency bias. Players who had incredible ends to the year obviously earned those wins at the end of the year, but it is a season-long award. And I think media voters maybe are a little bit better at examining the whole year. No shots. But I do think there's something to be said about that, because you can't quantify everything. It's really hard to make a system. Every point calculation comes from a human element to start, and so it's what you favor. You can go to other points. We pulled a lot from golf, where they value winning the most. Other systems will value average placement the most. You see in the Pro Tours that they they value a third of it as your average placement, and then a third is your Disc Golf Pro Tour points, which value winning. So it all comes from a human element anyways.
Okay. I think that was good conversation. We gave 15 minutes bonus time, both thanks to Ben for coming in and elaborating a little bit, asking his questions and sharing. I do want to do one final shout out from my side, and I don't do this often with my kids, but when my son won World Championship, that was the time I did it. And I'll say again, my oldest, my 12-year-old Hunter, he got his second tournament ace today. He was able to secure that. His first was when he was 6 years old. And now he had to wait 6 more years to get his next tournament ace. I have one tournament ace, and that took me about 14 years to get to that point. He's done 2 by age 12. So I give it up to him. Congrats, Hunter.
2 minus.
He comes home today and he's like,
Hunter.
Yeah, he comes home today and he's like, there was no ace pot or anything, or like we hadn't paid into it. And he's like, he goes, so what do I get? This is so funny. Hunter, I hope I'm not embarrassing you if you're watching or listening.
They are upstairs.
Watching?
Yeah.
So this is delay. I'll hear the floor get stomped in a minute.
Yeah.
But it was like, he was like, what do I get? A pat on the back?
He's so funny, Hunter.
So
he's hilarious.
He's like, it was nothing for me. Like, come on. And I'm like, it's the pride. You have the pride. Like, you did it.
Yeah.
He gets a shout out on the Nick and Matt show.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I'll say this,
it's a nice eagle.
It was hard to see, but there was a hole where he did a double OB and then he missed the putt and he took a quadruple bogey like in his first 4 holes. And then he ended up 3 under par. So I was like, well, okay, way to fight back, dude. So he shot above his rating.
Yeah,
so good
that's
for
better
him.
than my score at that course.
So anyways, wanted to shout him out, but we made it to the end. Nick, you get to close this out.
But I have just 2 more things. One's a shameless plug. The other one, Gannon Buhr never has to worry about qualifying for Usdgc again.
Yes.
Which I think is
Lifetime
pretty badass.
exemption.
I love that about this event. If you win it, you are forever qualified. We have players like Brinster there.
There's
Barry
13.
Schultz
I think
was
it's
there.
13 players now. 13.
Is that? Yeah. So anyways, one last shameless plug. Just want to throw this out there. Do you guys watch the GK Pro skins?
Yes.
Often.
Okay. Very fun thing to watch. A lot of people love watching them.
Discura.
Discura and GK Pro had an awesome collaboration partnership throughout this whole year. We actually came out with their new jerseys that you could see Luke Humphreys wearing. And then if you see the GK Pro guys as they're doing camera work every so often, you will see them. Discura made those. We are super proud of them.
They're
if
dope.
you want one, go over to discuradg.com. You'll see them right on the front page. They're super, super awesome. I shipped a bunch of them today. I have mine actually in my room right back there. Cannot wait to wear it during my round tomorrow. But anyways, discuradg.com. I did want to give a shameless plug to that because I think these came out so beyond badass.
They look sick. They do.
They're really cool.
They're
and
very cool.
yeah, I like colors and I love the color blue. So the blue one, I instantly grabbed a blue medium and I was like, yep, that's mine. They have tons of colors on them. They're wicked comfortable. Love them. Anyways, check them out. Appreciate you guys. But anyways, to everyone in the chat right now, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on this video. There has been a solid 300 plus people watching the whole night. Go ahead and hit that like button really quick. It helps us out. Don't forget to subscribe. Ben, thanks for coming in tonight. We had awesome interviews with Kat and Gannon. Congratulations to them. One last big tournament of the year, guys. Then we kind of, as a podcast, we kind of hit the off season and we'll get some random people on here and there. So anyways, thank you, everybody. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Check us out on all your favorite podcast platforms. Tell someone you love them this week. We'll catch you in the next one.
Nick, you're awesome. Ben, you're awesome. Evan, you're awesome. Peace out, everybody.
Peace.
The Nick and Matt Show, a disc golf podcast designed for you, the disc golfer. Find the Nick and Matt Show on your favorite podcast platforms or join the conversation live on YouTube.